everyone. Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how good stabbies are in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, and joining me back in the studio is Mr. James Hydrojet. James 14 millimeter jet. How's that?
14 mil?
Why do they call you 14 millimeter?
Because that's the diameter of my piston.
I don't know. Okay, sure. If that's what you want it to be.
I don't know. I've never heard 14 millimeter.
That's because you're a genius with 14 millimeters.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with 14 millimeters.
Yeah. I was about to say I haven't been called Hydrojet in a while, and then you completely changed it on me.
I don't know. I just felt like 14 millimeters would be a fun path to go down.
Yeah. Thanks for not being 12 or 10.
I know. Well, you got to do 14. It's the most common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, so...
and you always lose the 10 mil. So.
Exactly. Can never find that one again. Oh, man. What are we talking about again? What are we doing here?
So this week, we have on the mics some friends of ours that we met on the trail. Well, you met them at the airport.
Yep.
And I met them on the trail. Mm-hmm. But we have some good friends from Glue Tread out here.
We do.
Out sitting at Rubicon Springs with some river otters behind us.
Yeah, I thought they were beavers at first. That was funny.
Had some crawfish falling on the table.
Ryan's new friends.
Yes. And we had a good last few days.
We did. That evening was a lot of fun.
That was a fun night. I had a slow morning, but it was a fun night.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Good times out there. One thing, Andy from Glue Tread and Simon from Headlamp Productions, I thought for some reason they were going to be older guys.
Me too.
And so like they're younger than me. Like
I don't even think they're 30 yet.
I don't think so. I think Andy's 29. I think Simon's like 28 or 27, something like that. But anyways, so when I pulled up at the airport and saw that it was those two guys waving at me, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun trip. Like immediately, as soon as I saw them, I was like, this is going to be a great trip. So it was a lot of fun meeting them at the airport, and then all the shenanigans we had over the next, 4 days, whatever it was.
3. Sunday,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 2.5, 3.5. Yeah. So anyways, a lot of fun hanging out with these guys. Yeah, I don't know much else to give other than getting into the interview. We do have a giveaway going on this month.
Yep.
As always.
Which we both probably could have used more of on our adventure. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean more protective tubing.
Yes, I could have. Well, I don't know if I hit anything.
I hit my rear quarter panel coming down the big sluice.
There was a point coming...
I bent my... Remember, I bent my mud flap.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I broke that off or cracked it off. Yeah. There was a point when we were coming down at the, where is it? The bottom of Sawtooth?
Yeah.
I think, bottom of, no, it's the bottom of a property line.
Yeah, okay.
Where you drove up ahead and then parked to block the trail, make sure no one came up on us.
Yeah. Tampon.
The trail tampon, yeah. Right after that, there's a split in the trail, kind of a rocky ledge with some rocks at the bottom, and then kind of a, I don't know. It was a straight through shot, but there's a big ass rock on the driver's side that has like a 4-foot drop off on the other side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was scouting Andy in the 4Runner down the rocky side, the way you went.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I look off to the side and Nick in the Gladiator was coming down the other side. And I looked over at Andy and Simon and I said, the Gladiator is about to make a really loud noise. And he came down off of that rock and just went wham right on the rear bumper. And they just started laughing. I was like, there's the loud noise.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Nick could probably have used an affordable bender to put more protection under his rig. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the items that is the item, maybe a die as well, that we are going to be giving away this month. Big thanks for Affordable Bender for donating their precious items
Mm-hmm.
to our giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think we need to do the arc off. I don't know what really to call it, where we like measure, we'll measure our tube, so far out, and then every inch, do the mark, and then we'll see how things bend and see how they appear after the fact.
You said an arc off, and I immediately went to welding.
Oh,
I was like,
that would make sense too.
How are we gonna test? What are you doing?
I was shocked. I
weld?
just led you up with a bunch of innuendos, and you didn't laugh at any of them. So I was super stoked about that.
I'm growing up.
Oh, that's amazing. It's about how long has it been? 3 years.
3.5 years. Yeah. Super cool item this month for the giveaway. $400 retail value is the affordable bender and a die of your choice. I know we had mentioned a few episodes back that when we were talking about it, that there was 3 dies that showed up with my bender. They're all 3 separate dies, and I did check with Tom over at Affordable Bender and let him know that he sent me an extra die, and he said, "Yep, that's for you guys as a thank you for working with us on for what we're doing with the giveaway, and hopefully we are going to get him on the podcast here soon." So I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, man. That was really nice of him. I didn't ask for it at all. He just threw it in there. So
there is no duplicate.
There is no duplicate.
So we're keeping it.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to you out there. You don't get an extra die.
Yep.
But you do get a die with your, with the winning bender.
Yep.
Whoever you are.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and so we'll do that drawing. It's probably going to come out that second week of September. Possibly, because we have to wait for the Patreon stuff to come through.
Right.
So stay in touch and keep your ear holes open through then to see if you win a bender.
And how would someone go about entering to win the bender, Tyler?
That's a great question, Jimmy. I'm glad you asked.
Yes. See, I lead. I tell you, I lead this podcast. You just talk the podcast.
Yeah. I get us off track. In order to enter for the giveaway, go over to irate4x4.com. Really cool forum board. If you guys have not heard about it yet, you're not listening to the show enough.
Right.
But we have a snail trail 4x4 forum over there, and all of your sign up options. If you're looking at it from a computer browser, they're going to be right there on the right hand side. So we've kind of got the forum that has all the episode posts, some other fun stuff. And then there's all your sign up options right there. And signing up will get you access to the Snail Squad forum, and also the tokens 6 months before everybody else, which there's a couple of new tokens out. Just put out a couple days ago.
Nice.
And it also gets you entered for the giveaway, the option there. And then when we open it up in October, you get to get entered for the gift box. So those are all your entryways right there.
Right.
Over on irate4x4.com.
And if you're on mobile, you need to go to that Snail Trail 4x4 forum and then scroll to the very bottom. And all those options are there on the bottom.
Correcto.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Anything else that we can do for housekeeping before we talk to Andy and Simon here?
No, I think we covered a lot of it on Thursday's episode. So I say let's move forward.
Alrighty. So with that, my friends, grab your favorite flavored crawfish, and we'll be right on back with today's campfire discussion. Oh, welcome back, ladies and gentle ladies. We have a couple people here at Rubicon Springs that we've dragged through the trail. We pretty much like roofied them and then forced them to come on the trip. It was fun times, as always. But no, we got Andy here from Glue Tread.
Heck yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. And we have Simon here from Headlamp Productions.
Headlamp Studios.
Headlamp
close.
Studios. I remember the headlamp part. I was like, that's pretty freaking cool. We're going to get into a little bit of your guys' background. Ultimately, we're out here on the Rubicon Trail because one of my, I don't know if interesting is the right words, maybe less smart employees decided that it'd be a good idea. Decided that it'd be a good idea to stab my tires and patch them up and go run the Rubicon. And this kind of idea turned into, email communications between me and Andy. And I was like, you were pretty much just like, hey, do you need any help with anything marketing? Can we help out in any way? And I was like, well, I don't know if you want to help. We just came up with this plan like yesterday, and I told you, and you're like, cool, I bought airplane tickets. I was like, oh, you're coming. Okay, cool. This is going to be awesome. So let's talk a little bit first before we get into this trip, kind of what we're doing out here in the Springs, how the trip has been. I want to know more about Glue Tread. I know all the listeners want to know more about Glue Tread. It's a freaking cool product, but what is Glue Tread?
Yeah, sure. So
what's your elevator speech?
Yeah, the short version is it's a patch that allows you to pair the sidewall of any off-road tubeless tire, and you can do that without removing the tire from the vehicle. So it's a repair you can do right on the trail and get you back on the road. So.
Which we've done 4 times now
on
this trip. It's on purpose. So
4.5 times, I think.
4.5.
4.5, I guess. Yeah. No, it's super cool. I saw Glue Tread ads out on social media at some point, and then I was like, at that same time, I was actually looking for a way to carry something with me so I didn't have to carry a spare tire anymore. I've got a Toyota that I already overload, and I'm like, I don't need more weight, all this space taken up with a spare tire. I want some solution so I don't have to have a spare tire anymore. That's my whole thing. And I couldn't find anything out there that covered, essentially I wanted valve stems, sidewall issues, and plugs, nails, anything like that. And then I saw Glue Tread and I was like, what is this? This is looks pretty cool. And then I saw somebody out on a trail use one, and I was like, holy shit, that actually works. And so I think right after that, I reached out to you guys.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, can we just here's my idea. I want to put together this extreme tire repair kit for Morphlate that covers, valve stems with Colby valves. We have our own tire plug kit with a lot of tire plugs in it, a lot of really cool stuff in there. But I wanted a sidewall repair kit too. And I was like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it was perfect. It worked out, and here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. And it's all kind of stemmed from there. And then we put out this video on social media of Ryan stabbing a sidewall in our warehouse, and everybody flipped and said, it doesn't work. We were just showing how to put the patches on. The Glue Tread patches on the sidewall. Sure. And we got so many comments that were like, oh, that's not going to work. You guys didn't even air it up at the end. It's like, we have 1 minute to show how to put these freaking patches on, you guys. Calm down. And I was like, well, how do we get rid of these naysayers? And Ryan came up with the idea of stabbing some tires and coming out on the Rubicon. And here we all are here.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool.
So I want to know, how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, totally. So it started actually with my dad. We have more of a power sports and agricultural background than we do any kind of crawling, right? So my dad had just put brand new tires on his 4-wheeler. He was backing up a trailer actually that was attached to the 4-wheeler. He jackknifed it and just put a massive gash in the side of this brand new tire. And he's pretty cheap, runs in the family, so am I. And he didn't want to buy a new tire. So we actually started, we kind of had a roundabout way getting here. We started by actually taking, cutting lugs off that tire and gluing them onto the tire that worked, because obviously there's no way to fix a sidewall, right? So we didn't even try to patch it. Took lugs off there. And then we actually ran with that for a while, more so on agricultural tires, kind of almost like retreading for agricultural tires, but one lug at a time.
Interesting.
So we did that for a while and actually had some traction, no pun intended. And it did pretty well for a while, but we just, COVID hit and we needed to find another way to make that business work. And then we're like, I think this technology would work for actual sidewall repair, which ironically enough would have fixed the initial problem that the trailer created. So we took a roundabout way to get there, released our first sidewall repair kit in March of 2020, right when COVID hit. Also kind of a huge spike in off-road travel during that time, which I think helped our growth.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so it's been out since March of 2020, and we've just been kind of running with it and just trying to keep up with demand. And, similar to your story, I think that's what keeps happening is people will see the ads and they're like, oh, that probably doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And then they're out on the trail and they see it and then it's like, oh man, that actually works. And this person didn't have to carry a spare or walk home, whatever the alternative was. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's kind of how we ended up here. So
it sounds like you grew up in motorsports. Let's go way back here. Where'd you grow up? What'd you do as a child? Were you into off-roading, or was it other sources of fun?
Yeah, totally. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. Anyone who's familiar with that part of the country knows there's not a whole lot of public land. So we had four-wheelers, growing up, and we would always run those around my hometown, oftentimes in places we weren't allowed to have them. But you can kind of play the young and dumb card when you're, 15 or 16.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners have done that before.
Yeah. Everyone can relate there. So I did some, the power sports stuff there. I worked on a farm in high school growing up. So I had, some, I guess, concept of what the agricultural side of that looks like as well. And then we just kind of, so that's, I guess, where my interest in it started, was around that. So.
And then you talked about, motorsports, but it wasn't off-roading? It was quads?
Yeah.
Or did you do dirt biking, or was it side-by-sides, or did you, as you grew up, did you do all these other things?
Yeah, mostly four-wheelers. We did a lot of four-wheelers growing up.
Okay.
Did occasionally, I've owned a couple dirt bikes, own one now. But not a whole lot of technical off-roading stuff like what you guys do. Mm-hmm. I spend a lot of time now in Montana doing a lot of off-highway travel for specifically hunting or other outdoor adventures. But so mostly four-wheelers though growing up.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Nice. How long have you been in the Montana area doing hunting and outdoorsy stuff, I guess?
Yeah. For Montana, a little over 3 years now. I moved out there originally to guide. I've been spending a decent amount of time out west since I started in Nevada, working at a ranch when I was in college. And then I've just been coming back to the west since there. I kind of got introduced to public land and then became a semi-functioning mountain addict. And I
think that's most people are on this table right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I put a notice on my website saying, "Sorry, I'm out of town right now. Business will resume next week."
Yeah. So just been, and now I'm just again kind of addicted to being out here and being in the West and all that. So yeah.
All right. So there was no real overlap for your hobby sports to the broken sidewall.
Aside from the ATVs, and that's really where we focus.
So was your dad reversing the quad with the trailer? What were you guys doing at the time?
I wasn't with him when he did it.
Oh, okay.
He was, I'm sure, working on some kind of outdoor project. I don't know. He's always probably moving firewood. Probably.
Really?
Yeah, my family has a fascination. All the men in my family have a fascination with firewood, and I'm included in that. We split it. We heat all our houses with firewood.
Hold on, let's be honest. Is it firewood
or is it fire?
That's a fair question. If you asked my mom, she would say at least my portion of that is the fire itself, as you saw when we were lighting the accelerator earlier today. So
you should light the propane pit tonight.
Yeah. That sounds like a good time. With the accelerator spray.
Yes. Yes, we'll get into that story a little bit. Yeah. So let's before we dive too deep into everything we've been doing, let's jump over to Simon.
Yeah.
Simon, tell us a little bit about your past. Where'd you grow up, and how'd you move into the production scene?
Yeah, so I grew up in Denver, and it's funny because when I say that, you think the big city or on the foothills of the mountains, but we were actually, 15 miles east of the easternmost suburb of Denver.
Oh, dang. Okay. So how long did it take you to get to downtown?
Downtown would be almost an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had about a 20-minute drive on this big, long county road through the plains, and we basically lived in the plains of Kansas at that point. So,
nice.
So it was really nice. We lived on 45 acres. My parents had built a house out there, which we painstakingly had to help in our younger years, which sucked. But I'm actually very appreciative.
Was there a firewood, like a love there as well, or?
Not firewood, but more. We had dirt bikes and we had quads, and so our neighbor had a tractor, and he kind of plowed this long trail kind of through all the dead grass, like around both of our houses. So we would just do laps on that all the time. So I never got too into like fixing or working on the quads or the dirt bikes, but I did enjoy very much riding them. So
okay.
Yep.
So from Denver, how did you go from that to the production scene?
So yeah, when I was a kid, I was always into cameras. Like I got a Polaroid camera when I was like 9 or 10, I think.
What is that?
For Christmas? It's the one that spits out the... it spits out a photo.
For our younger listeners. This kid over here has no idea what we're talking about. With his Jeep Gladiator on 29s. But they all know now.
Yeah, but so I always kind of had a fascination with cameras, and just I would steal my parents' camcorder and make like skateboarding videos with my friends. And as you could see, how much I fall with my camera in my hand, that started at a very young age and fell many times off a skateboard.
How many times have you fallen this trip?
This trip, I'm actually doing pretty well. I think I've only slipped like 5 or 6 times. In 2 days.
Some close calls, too.
Some close calls, but you haven't dropped the camera or the gimbal yet. It's been impressive. So
the thing weighs about 20 pounds, and I have this fatherly instinct to just stick it up in the air as soon as I hit the deck. And it seems to work. So
fatherly or credit card?
This financial instinct. Yeah. But so I grew up with that, and then I actually went to school for engineering, and I went to Ohio State, which is where I met Andy. Dropped out of school a year and a half in because I'm not smart enough to be an engineer and had no interest in doing that. And ever since then, I just kind of decided to sort of make my own way. And so I bounced around and got some business experience here and there, but ultimately came back to cameras and learned a lot from the people around me. And then about 3 years ago now, went off on my own, moved out to Salt Lake City and started my own production company out there. And I've just been doing that ever since.
Nice. So I would assume by the name of Headlamp Studios that you're doing a lot more of kind of like outdoor production stuff.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I moved to Utah was because the industry there for outdoor sports is just so great.
Especially out of Salt Lake.
Yeah,
You're
for
like
sure.
right there in that valley. You've got mountains all around you. It's
so close.
A lot of outdoor activities going on.
Yeah, and everything's so close to drive to and or run to or walk to or whatever you want to do. But
I prefer driving. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not going to be running anywhere.
Driving 1 mile, maybe 2 miles an hour. We're good.
At this pace, it would take about 2 hours to get to the mountains that are 15 minutes away from my house. But I do a lot of outdoor related filming in Salt Lake and all over the place, really, in the West. Do a lot of climbing footage because I'm big into rock climbing myself. Not the climbing that you guys do, but
we're
not
crawling.
We're crawling.
Well, you say like climbing up. You're like climb that rock over there. You know.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, we do say that.
I have no argument there.
Right. I think we classify us more as like rock crawlers and wheelers side of things, but not like we wouldn't go out and say we're rock climbers.
If you ask the kid on 29s, we're wheelers, not rock crawlers.
I know.
So
yeah, that's a whole other argument. Maybe we'll have him on for one of those TTTTs.
Yeah, maybe. So what kind of rock climbing do you do? I know that there's a lot of different types out there, and I've heard from other people around the table here that you're a pretty good rock climber. Like, are you doing free soloing stuff? Are you doing big wall climbing? Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I don't really free solo, which for those of you who don't know, that's basically just climbing without anything except for your shoes and your chalk bag.
That's called being fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Stupid.
That's what that is. That's stupid.
stupid.
I do
Sorry,
sometimes I do sometimes like do scrambling on easy terrain, like along ridge lines. So technically that's not with a rope, but I'm not scaling flat walls without a rope. But I do a lot of trad climbing, traditional climbing, which is basically placing rock protection like cams and nuts and in the wall, and then clipping your rope to it, and then your partner belays you up, and then you kind of leapfrog up. Okay. And my favorite thing to do is just cover as much vertical ground as I can. So it's called multi-pitch trad climbing. Would be the best way you could describe it.
Yeah.
So have you done a notable climb that people would recognize?
The most notable probably would be Castleton Tower, which is a desert tower right outside of Moab, actually.
Okay.
Near Arches, near Moab. Yeah, it's like this very iconic looking, blocky. It's like I think 300 feet tall, maybe. It's a desert spire, so it's very striking.
Cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you bring up a bunch of camera gear too? Wasn't that a whole?
I did bring up a bunch of camera gear, and it was an absolute. slog is the word I'm looking for getting up there. And the climbing wasn't actually that great, but just being out there is really nice. I mean, you guys have been to Moab, so all the red rocks around that area is just stunning.
How long did that take?
That took us... It would have taken a lot shorter without the camera gear, but it's
like this trip, right?
I was gonna say, were you filming the whole time too, or do you just like taking stuff to film up on top of the spire?
It was both. So I was filming along the way.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
It ended up taking us like 6 hours, I think, to get to the top, which isn't too long. It was a hot day, but the worst part was that we actually had like I'm a decent climber. I'm really not that technically good.
Hold on. You said 6 hours is not a long time climbing? Like, I get tired after 20 minutes of trying to do rock climbing. Like, 6 hours, you're like, what's not that long?
I think, yeah. I mean, it's a long time to be out there, but for how long that should take with 3 people, I think we did a pretty good job with that. Yeah.
Have you spent a night on one of those cots, man?
Never. I would like to, though. I think that
was
fun.
A pun to the blue-haired guy.
Yeah. Funny story from earlier this week.
Gotcha, yeah.
Cool.
Man. So that's cool. So you do a lot of outdoors production, a lot of outdoors videography, photography. So essentially you're out in the outdoor recreation scene a lot. Professionally and recreationally, right? For your hobbies.
Yeah, big time. We're out here sitting at the springs. I'm looking at this amazing river right here, and I'm just feeling right at home.
Hey, where were you a week ago?
A week ago, I was in Montana by probably a similar stream. It was 1 a.m. though, and we were doing a bit of a different activity. We were helping our friend run 100 miles through the mountains, so he's a little bit more crazy than both of us are.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to ask if you guys had any fun college stories you wanted to share.
Yeah.
Any outdoor related college stories?
I mean, I think that's kind of how we started. We went to different schools. He went to Ohio State. I went to Miami of Ohio. But we had a mutual friend, my roommate, and a friend of his, and that's how we met. And in college, we got into this a little bit around the fire last night, but in college, we built a bar in our garage, which sounds like a pretty common theme in this crew.
Right? Did you, Tyler? Did you?
I have not. I'm in the process of building my bar right now, kind of.
Okay.
Right now.
He's still in college, apparently.
So we were all sitting around, and we had like pretty much just met. And after I graduated from college, I was like, I'm going to go travel for as long as I can. First thing I wanted to do was go to Alaska. So Simon and I were sitting there talking in this college bar garage, and and I was telling him, hey, I'm going to Alaska, this is what I'm gonna do. I was like, yeah, you want to come? He's like, yeah, I'll come. But like everybody says, yeah, of course they want to come. I mean, you're like, it's late at night, everybody's like, yeah, they've had a couple beers. You just kind
of roll your eyes, you're like, okay,
you're another one that says he's gonna come. But then
I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then the next morning he kind of follows up. He's like, yeah, so I'm, when should I book my tickets? I was like, I like this guy, and he did.
I remember asking you like details about the trail because you had this specific like 12-mile hike-in cabin that you were going to do, and I was like, so what was that thing called? And I was just kind of picking your brain, and then it turned into kind of like a real logistics conversation that was a bit premature at the time, but long story short, I ended up showing up in Alaska, and then we didn't really know each other that well at that point, but we definitely got to know each other 10 days in Alaska.
So while we were sitting around the fire, you told me that you were hanging out at a bar, that you were having truck problems.
Yeah.
And you pretty much just said, well, Simon can figure out how to get to me.
For sure. Simon's like one of the most street smart guys ever. Like he just like rolls with it. He'll just figure it out. So like I had just come out from another trip, a solo trip I had done. And I'm driving to actually pick him up in Anchorage, and I'm driving and my truck just shuts off. Like plenty of gas, everything just shuts off. And I was like, oh man, I like put the clutch in, I tried to start it up again, like nothing. I was like, so I
Did you have a hammer?
No. Okay. A starter.
Big mistake.
Yeah, so I was rolling through, and I coasted as long as I could, and then pulled over to the side of the road, and I could see this town, the town of Cooper's Landing, I believe.
Yeah.
Like up I don't know, maybe a couple hundred yards. I like literally almost made it to town. And I was like, well, I'm not there. So I like walked into town. This guy was painting a house. I'm like, hey, can you help me push my car into town? So we pushed it in, couldn't get it started. Anyway, long story, but I end up getting a message out to Simon. There's like no cell phone service, and he's like about to get on the plane to Anchorage. I think you're about to get.
I flew through Seattle. It was one of those planes.
It was one of,
but you were about to lose service because you didn't have any service, and I was about to lose service because I was about to board a plane.
So I literally
was it a prop plane?
No,
like only 12 people allowed on it.
I wish, man. It was a boring old commercial plane. Up to
he's coming into Anchorage. It's a real city.
Yeah, boring.
So I just sent him a text and I was like, "Hey, I'm at Gwen's." That's what it was. I'm at Gwen's bar in Cooper's Landing, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, I might not make it. So if I'm not at the airport, if you don't hear from me, I'll just see you there." You know, at the bar.
I'll be at the bar.
I'll still be at the bar. Yeah.
How long's that flight?
Oh man,
it was probably like 6 hours.
6 hours. And then how long is it to get from Anchorage to Gwen's?
It wasn't too far. Maybe like a two and a half hour
So
drive.
8 hours later, if I'm not at the airport, 8 hours later, I'm still at the bar.
And if I'm still at the bar, you're probably gonna have to drive to the trailhead. Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, cool." I was like, "God, I like this dude." But,
so out of all the people that ever said yes, Simon's the only one that showed up?
He was the only one that came to Alaska.
Okay.
I spent like 10 days up there with my dad, which was super fun. We actually did take one of those little 3-person prop planes in, and
Nice.
that was cool. And then I bought a Tacoma up there in 97 and drove it around the whole time. And then
That's the one that broke?
Yeah, but that was the only time. We never figured out what was wrong with it. I think it
we'll
might have
edit this part out.
Yeah. No, it turned on. I think it knew. It knew that I needed to stop there. I had a great night. There was a concert, a bunch of fun people. It just knew. It knew best.
Oh, okay.
So, no hard feelings.
AI and Tacoma's in 97.
Yeah, 1997 AI. That's what you get. And then I had one buddy come visit me when I was in Europe. Because I took that truck, bought it for $5,000. Drove it all summer, sold it for $6,000, took that money, bought a ticket to Europe, and then traveled around Europe until I ran out of money.
So wait, what did you guys do in Alaska while you were you filming? Or were you just traveling?
That was kind of before I really got into it. So I think I just had a GoPro up there. So I was filming stuff here and there.
That's where we all start, right?
Yeah.
It's the gateway drug. The gateway camera.
Yeah. Like mountain mics. But anyway.
Yeah, and then he and I did a couple things. We did one cabin on the Kenai Peninsula. It was a Forest Service cabin, so you can rent them pretty cheap, but you have to get to them. We hiked in. That was actually the first time I'd seen a grizzly, and he actually saw it first, and it had cubs, and it was at like 50 yards, which was like...
Jeez.
It was
that's
big.
close.
It was big.
Yeah.
That's closer than I want to be to a grizzly.
Yeah, it was closer than we wanted to be. Yeah, so we did that.
These little black bears, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, no, they're just
Like,
they're big
I'll
raccoons.
run up and try to cuddle you.
Yeah, they're big raccoons. That's no
True.
problem.
He does. So yeah.
So yeah, we did that, and then we just kind of like bebopped around the Kenai Peninsula for a couple days. Went to Homer and went up to the little town of Hope, which was cool.
Hope was really cool. Yeah, we visited Seward, caught some fresh salmon, filleted the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
Just a little taste.
Yeah.
For me, I was only there 10 days. You were there three
My
months.
cousin goes up to Alaska every year, and he fishes a specific river up there for salmon. And he says a bear sits like 20 feet from him.
Totally. Yeah.
And he catches a fish, and he cuts it in half, and he throws the head half to the bear, and he keeps the other half. And the bear just sits there as long as he keeps feeding it.
So if you go on a dry spell and don't catch anything, does the bear start looking at your head?
You know, he's still alive, so he must be a good fisherman.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool. So you guys have known each other from college.
Yep.
You guys have gone on a few trips.
Yeah.
You've started a production company, Simon. You started a glue tread sidewall patching system.
Yep.
And here we are today, sitting at the Springs.
Yeah. Rubicon Soda Springs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we talk about our trip so far then?
Yeah. We essentially, so the idea was to stab all 4 of my 40-inch tires on Kermit on the 4Runner, right? And then run the trail. So like we're starting compromised, right? We're starting with compromised tires. It's not like you're going on a trip and all of a sudden halfway or 3/4 of the way through your trip, you're like, oh shit, I slashed one of my sidewalls on a rock or something. Right. No, we're starting the trip with this intentionally, right? And I was like going into this.
How'd you feel about that?
Going into it and leading up to about like 5 days ago, I was like, no, we're not gonna have any issues. It's no problem. Like, I'm not even thinking about bringing a spare tire or a trailer or anything. I'm like, no, we're gonna make it all the way through the Rubicon. We're gonna come out. There's a beaver right over there. Sorry,
What?
I'm distracted.
Oh, yeah.
Rubicon Soda Springs beaver. Everybody, that's Betty.
Yeah.
Betty the beaver.
It's a real animal, not a lady, by
Yeah,
the way.
So anyways, I'm not even planning. Like, I'm working on all these logistics, and I'm like, no, we're just gonna go start at Loon, come out. We're gonna stab all 4 tires, patch them up. We're gonna come out to Homa, and I'm driving home, like, not even worried about it. And then I had a couple of people come into my ear, and they're like, "You realize we're like starting out intentionally."
Like
fucking things
like
up.
trying to fail.
Yeah, trying to fail.
In a
And
way.
I was like,
No offense.
No, I'm taking. This is everyone's thought when they first see it.
yeah. And I was like, oh, you guys are right. I didn't even think about that. I was like, that's a little bit of an oversight on my part. My bad. And so we figured. And so, anyways, we get down to Loon Lake, and
Hold on, time out.
okay,
You specifically reached out and you said, "Can you guys bring some spares?" Like,
yeah,
we need some spares.
yeah.
So why did you have second thoughts at like was it one of those last minute decisions? You're like freaking out.
It totally was.
Okay.
Last minute decision. And the main thing was because I'm trying to make sure that they make their flight out of here on Wednesday, right?
It's all for them.
It's all for.
I get it.
Yeah.
That's so nice of you, Tyler.
I'm so
Wow.
super nice guy, right? No,
I'm not concerned about Kermit at all.
And so I was like, man, we got to make sure we make this flight. That means we can't have any issues. If we do have any issues, we need to have redundancy backup plans. And this all like was pointed out to me by the kid in the 29s, the 29-inch tires in the Gladiator, and
Who's watching us right now?
yeah,
Who won't listen to this episode because he's watching us record it.
yeah. And Ryan's like, dude, I have a set of 35s we could bring. I'm like, I'm not going to put a set of 35s on Kermit. It's going to look stupid. And
You
so
might have more travel.
I might.
You
Sorry.
looking at the beaver?
Betty just came out and went back underwater over there behind you.
How cool.
Yeah.
I'm about to throw my swim trunks on and try to catch it.
I'm actually surprised nobody's like dove in the water yet here. So I'll be doing that as soon as we close up the podcast. But no, I was literally like 3 days out. I was like, oh, we it just dawned on me for some reason that we're intentionally starting out trying to fuck everything up and fix it so that we can go run the Rubicon then. And I was like, okay, we should probably do something about this.
Yeah.
So I just got some brand new tires for the 4Runner. We'll get into that on a future episode here shortly. And I was like, okay, let's try and bring one of those. And
The Gladiator on 29s happens to have a 40 on the back.
yeah, a different lug pattern though. But he was like, hey, if worst comes to worst, we can just change a tire and dismount and remount and blah 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 out on the trail. And I was like, yeah, man, I guess you're right. We can definitely do that. So I was like, what? Okay, so we got 2 spare tires. We're okay with, and
We're okay with only puncturing the front 2? Like, when did you decide to, like, I'm only going to do 2?
Just I didn't
Okay.
hear the 2 thing until we landed. I thought
Yeah.
we were doing 4 until we got here, and he's like, "Well, I think we probably should do the 2 fronts." I was like, "Yeah, honestly,
I honestly think he was scared.
I think so.
I think he thought that this isn't going to work and we're going to screw you guys out of money flying home.
Nah, I mean,
yeah, I got
No hard
very
feelings.
worried. I got very worried like 3 days into it. Into before coming out here, like 2 to 3 days out.
Okay.
And so
That's actually funny because I have to interject too because Andy and I were talking on the phone, like just figuring out our flight plans, and not to throw you under the bus at all, Andy, but he calls me and he goes, "Yeah, this Tyler guy seems pretty confident," and I don't know, I feel like I'm even more nervous than he is right now because I've never been on the Rubicon. I don't really know what I'm doing with this whole rock crawling thing, but he doesn't seem like there's a problem, so I hope we don't disappoint him.
yeah,
Oh,
totally.
good. I'm glad, like,
No.
You were worried at the start.
Yeah.
The owner of the company is like, ooh, okay, I don't know, but this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Tyler's like, we got it. And then when we got closer, Tyler's like, fuck, man, I don't know. Maybe we only do 2. Let's carry 2 spares. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
If you think about it, it is kind of a ridiculous thing to do. So it makes
absolutely
sense.
is.
It makes
Like,
sense that we were a little bit
we're gonna
nervous.
Specifically puncture tires, patch them, and drive through some of the toughest terrain out there.
Yeah.
And see if things
Totally.
hold.
Well, and it's funny, like we've done like tons of testing on this, right? So like even before it came out, we did a ton of testing, but that's in the shop and it's different. It's like pretty low stakes. Like if it doesn't work, it's like, we'll have to put another patch on. You know what I mean? It's like, but then, so like every time we do, I mean, we do stuff like this fairly regularly, not as like hardcore as this. I mean, I think this is like the apex of what you can do. But like, but I mean, even a couple weeks ago, like I was just driving around on my dirt bike, waving people down, and offered them $500 to let me slash their tires on the trail, which there's some good videos of. But even when we do that,
Okay.
hey,
I already Jimmy's like,
I need some new tires.
we'll come back.
I got 4 tires right now. That's like $2,000.
But even though, like I've seen it work and it's worked for me and I've like tested it, but even so, every time I'm just like, because I think it's just so ingrained in your mind there's no way to fix a sidewall that like it's just like kind of
totally
stuck in
is,
there.
yeah.
And it's like, so then you get nervous doing it, but then we come through, like when we were going through Soup Bowl, and it's like,
Oh my God.
and it's just sitting there just ripping this.
We'll get to that.
and-
Yeah.
sorry no,
We'll talk about that.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I won't talk too much more about it, but you see stuff like that, it's like, of course, I mean, this works. Like, it's hard to get that through people. Even as like the owner of the company, it's like you're just conditioned to think that there's no way to repair it.
Yeah.
So if you do get nervous.
You're
you know?
very like, for the longest time, you've not been able to, like, you have a sidewall problem.
Yeah.
Tire is garbage.
Yeah,
You're
hope
not
you got
going to
good
get
boots
it. You're
'cause
not
you're
going to get
walking
out. You can use like 500 plugs and you're still leaking air.
Like the best thing you can, or the furthest thing you can do is like try and shove baling wire through it to stitch it together, pull
Sure.
together, and then just shove as many plugs as you can until it stops leaking high enough to get off the trail.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then glue tread comes around, right, and breaks the internet, and all of a sudden there's a solution to this problem.
Totally.
And now we're trying to help prove that it works.
Totally. Yeah.
So I'm glad you. Actually, Simon, thank you for throwing him under the bus.
Thanks.
You
Anytime.
were worried. You were worried, Tyler. And we should, and the Gladiator, Mr. Gladiator over here, Mr. Lazy Boy, actually sitting in a Lazy Boy here at Rubicon Springs, was worried. And we got to the trailhead, and you guys flew in on Sunday. Tyler picked everybody up on Sunday. You guys cruised up to the spillway at Loon Lake.
Yep.
And
Let's
Sunday,
let's give a shout out to Eric real quick at the Virgin Sturgeon.
Yeah, let's do that.
Shout out, Eric.
all right, now moving on.
Eric with blue hair.
Eric with blue hair. Oh my God. So yeah, I don't know. You guys got an interesting, like the first 2 people you meet in the Sacramento area at all
Yeah.
are some of the 2 weirdest people I've ever met in Northern California. And I was like, man, these guys have like this like interesting outlook on NorCal right now.
We do. Yeah, it's still there.
We're still there.
Thank you.
We're literally sitting I took you guys out to a restaurant that's a barge on the river, right? And we're sitting there, and this guy just comes over and randomly...
What's the name of the restaurant again?
The Virgin Sturgeon. Yes.
Nice.
And we're literally sitting there, and he's having a decent conversation. He just goes, so where are you guys going? And so we explain kind of what we're doing. He goes, okay, cool. So where are you guys going? We're like, well, yeah, we're going doing this. He goes, oh, then what else are you doing? We're like, well, I guess then we're just kind of coming home. He goes, oh, cool. Then what else are you doing? And we're like, not much else. I don't know. He goes, cool. You guys want some acid? It's like,
Seriously?
It's like
he offered acid
Yes,
Twice.
he did.
Twice. That was just the first
You
time.
guys didn't
accept.
No, it was 10 a.m. You can't do acid before 1 p.m. Okay.
He didn't realize
No.
it was 10 a.m. That was the other
No,
funny
yes.
part.
Yeah, I
And-
love that part.
Eventually, he started talking about Coke and all this other stuff, and we were like, dude, it's like
he goes, yeah, man, it's going to be a good night. And we're like, it's like 10 a.m. the next morning. He goes, it's the next morning? Anyway, so
I'm late for work.
It was a very entertaining conversation with Eric. But anyways, we did that, and then we got everything packed up and came up, and we camped out in the bottom of the spillway at Loon Lake, where we met another fun character named Luke from Cool, where everything was super cool, dude. He was another interesting character.
What happened to Luke?
He had a CJ5 with a broken leaf spring, so he wasn't going anywhere. And then he ripped his steering box off the frame, and it was like tack welded back to the frame too. I have no clue how he made it off the trail. But he was just sitting there waiting.
Sounds like heap problems to me.
It is a heat problem for sure. But he was sitting there waiting. The rest of his group abandoned him to go get a trailer back in Cool and come back. So it was like going to be a 2.5 hour round trip that he was going to be sitting there waiting. We're just like, hey,
that's cool.
That's literally his response. Very much his response.
Cool Brewing's good, actually.
It is. There's some cool stuff up there.
There is.
Yeah.
There's some cool restaurants, and the Cool Brewing's actually quite tasty.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the second character that they run into in Northern California was Luke from Cool.
And then I was number 3.
And then you were number 3.
Which doesn't really top the charts either, but, at least maybe grounds them a little bit.
Safe to say all my preconceived notions about NorCal have been confirmed.
Perfect.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
Yeah, so
I'll
anyways,
take my kilt off later.
So we camped out in the bottom of the spillway Sunday night, and then Monday morning, you guys the rest of the group all showed up here, and we started having some fun stabbing tires. And we drove the 4Runner up to the Rubicon Trail sign.
So Bobcat showed up, and it was just me.
Yeah.
And then Nick in the Gladiator showed up. On his 29s. Mm-hmm. And he was bringing Ryan from the Morphlate studio.
Yep.
MF Ryan. And so 6 of us on this trip. We have Bobcat, Kermit, and this like pathetic lazy boy Gladiator.
It's just a big couch.
Yeah.
It's a big sofa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've taken a nap in the back of it while we were driving.
I've taken a nap underneath it while just hanging out.
Yeah,
I guess.
That. Yeah.
True.
I've done that twice now, I guess, technically.
So 3 rigs, 6 guys, cruising the Rubicon, and we were Loon Lake.
Yep.
And you decided we're only going to stab 2 tires.
And that was literally like, I was like, okay, that was that morning. I was still on the fence as to whether or not to stab all 4. I was like, we have 2 spares. Worst case scenario, I know 100% we can fix stuff. Yeah. It'll take a while to swap out spares and put them all on different wheels and everything. But I was like,
we'll be able to get through.
We can get through.
If
worst case scenario,
tread works or not.
Exactly. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just that morning, like literally as we're sitting there about to start videoing, I'm like, let's just do 2 tires, guys, and we'll see how today goes. If we make it to Buck Island without any issues, then we'll stab the 2 rear tires tomorrow morning and go from Buck Island to the Springs with all 4 tires compromised. And that became the plan, literally that morning. Yeah. So we shot some really. I think we got some really good videos of kind of outlining some tips about glue tread, how to apply it. What people do wrong a lot of times.
Yep, totally.
What is top 2 things that typically people do wrong when setting up a glue tread patch for sidewall repair?
The biggest thing is definitely prep. Like,
I want to stop you there. I 100% absolutely agree. I think that from everything I've learned and we've seen, I think that's the absolute make or break fail.
Definitely.
I think prep.
Definitely.
I think there's only one answer is prep.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it right, then it's going to work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what number 2 is. I don't know what you would say is number 2. I think glue pattern.
Yeah. I think number 1's definitely prep. And by a long shot, right?
Absolutely.
If you do not prep the tire, it's not going to work. I have done at this point hundreds, literally hundreds, maybe not thousands, but over 1,000, maybe not multiple thousands. Anyway, hundreds of patches, and it works. If you do it right, it works. And the prep's the biggest thing. But
We actually have a fun story about that we'll get into. So
the next thing is using too much adhesive. We get people comment occasionally, and they're like, "There's not enough adhesive in the package or whatever." There's enough adhesive.
Isn't there like 4 bottles of adhesive?
There's 4 bottles in the 4x4 kit, which is what we recommend. Sorry,
picture time.
Too much. Anyway, we'll have
4 bottles in the adhesive.
So there's 4 bottles in the 4x4 kit, which is the kit we recommend, kind of for the stuff you guys are doing.
Yeah. And people say there's not enough adhesive in there.
And I'm like, come on. Or even the external patch kit. Like, I put on all 4 patches that are currently on the tire. You could do with 1 bottle of adhesive. You could literally put on 4 patches on the vehicle with 1 bottle. Like, but their conception is like more is better. There's a card in every single one of our kits that says stop. More is not better.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the second one. But like you said.
Okay.
Buy a long shot prep.
Buy a long shot prep. Number 2 is stop.
Stop.
More is not better.
Right. Less adhesive.
Which and because it was funny because I was on the Rubicon like a matter of days before you guys showed up.
Yep.
And I actually was trying to help a buddy do a repair. I gave him a glue. Why can't I say it right now? Too many White Claw surges. We were doing a tire repair, and we didn't do anything right. Really, is what it comes down to.
Right.
We did no prep. I mean, we did basic sanding to scuff a tire. We used way too much glue, and we slapped it on, and it actually folded over. And after watching you set up a tire and setting and doing all the prep and watching, and after hearing the explanation of why more is not better, everything lined up. It all makes sense. And well, I don't want to do any foreshadowing, but things have worked well so far.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So explain why more is not better, because I think the
most people think
explaining
like Tim Allen and the Binford 3000 rule,
absolutely
right?
Yeah.
And explaining the airflow is actually really important.
Cool. So yeah, definitely 2 things. First, on your personal experience, one big thing to remember is that if you already have plugs in the tire, our adhesive does not work well with rubber cement. It won't bond to the rubber cement. So if there's a plug in the tire, you have to get rid of all the cement. And you can leave plugs in if you really want to. That's a whole other conversation. But there has to be no rubber cement. It won't bond.
Yeah.
The second thing to bring up is, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys, as you said, did it totally wrong. And he got out, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He still got out. So like at the end of the day,
He still got the trail.
At the end, you just put more glue on it, and more of the accelerant,
Right.
and still
he
wheeled
did
out.
everything wrong. I mean, like textbook, like all the things you could do wrong, he accomplished, which is impressive in itself. And he still got out. So so that's one thing. So one thing to comment on there. The comment on too much adhesive.
That's a great point, and I love the fact that you just brought that up, because I was like, we did all these things wrong, and it didn't really work. But you know what? It worked enough to get, and it was a side-by-side. It worked enough to get the side-by-side to the trailhead, loaded on his trailer so he could drive out of here.
And at the end of the day,
and the thing, at the end of the day, he got home. Right? And I was like, it kind of worked. It was still folding off, but he got home. He got out. And even though we didn't do it right, and it was. And I want to really press that we did it wrong, right? we weren't really I was just watching this guy, and I snapped a few photos, and I was just letting him do whatever he wanted to do, because he was like, I just sat back and I was like, hey, try this, and it didn't succeed, but he still got out. He still got out.
Yep.
And so, all right. So moving forward from there.
Moving forward from there. The problem with too much adhesive. With a cyanoacrylate, which is what this is, in the same family of superglue. With a cyanoacrylate, if you put on too much adhesive, especially with our patches, what happens is it's cured by the oxygen. So when you put too much adhesive, it'll
More Flate Ryan has crabs.
Yeah.
Crawfish. You have a lot of them. What did you do?
Do we have a pot? Can we boil those?
Ray-Bans in the water too. I went over to the waterfall.
Did you stick those on someone's nipple? Like
He was literally about to clamp your arm.
I had it under your arm.
Really? Can we boil those up and eat them?
Yeah,
There's a lot more.
you
We're
can.
going to do that.
There's a ton. The's a ton right
Is
down
that
here.
legal? Are we allowed to do
Do you
that?
want to let him talk?
No, I'm good. Just let him crawl around on the table for a while. I wish we had.
Wheeling Wine and Whiskey have Lorenzo.
Yeah, we got a crawfish.
You think he's
Really want to
thirsty?
Wizzy have Lorenzo. Get him drunk.
Peter wouldn't
Give him
like
some
that.
beer.
Put all his friends on the table.
Did you undo one rock and then you got this?
We literally have 5 crawfish
Right under the
sitting on the table crawling around right now.
Getting a
It's
video. You guys can post this on Monday.
Oh my god.
This guy's missing a claw.
Sorry, they grow back.
Big ones.
No shit.
Yeah, they grow back for sure.
Yeah.
They grow
he's trying to
crawfish?
go. He's trying to get me. You gonna say hi? He's waving at you.
You think he could puncture a sidewall?
Let's see if
I don't know, we could try.
Yep, they just fall off the table. This guy's gonna do it too. Oh, crawfish down. Is this guy alive?
Bro.
I bet you don't fall.
make him
As,
jump
I bet
for
you
it.
don't fall as fast when you're in the water.
He's gonna slice one of the cords.
Is this guy alive?
He's playing dead. Look at him. He's playing dead, too.
He's like, this dude's on a mission to get off of this table over here. Go that way.
yeah.
Go that way.
We'll get some bigger ones.
By the way,
You
I
get some
saw
bigger ones?
I saw
This is
the
a good
beaver come back, and I think it's actually an otter, or maybe it's a different animal.
Oh, it could be an
I
otter.
saw it. I think
it's an otter,
It's
yeah.
a river otter for sure.
Dude, they're quick. Those things are cool.
Yeah.
He's been
Also
chowing
bought
down.
a pair of Ray-Bans. I'm doing great.
Oh God, where were we?
I don't know.
We're talking about
so-
too much adhesive.
Yeah. So what happens when you have too much adhesive?
So if
Here.
you use too much adhesive when you put it on the patch, the long story short is it doesn't bond correctly because the adhesive takes oxygen and on the inside oxygen to bond, and on the inside of the patch, if there's too much adhesive, it doesn't bond and then it crystallizes.
Because there's
Gotcha.
not enough oxygen,
There's not enough oxygen
on the
inside.
underside
right.
of the
So it just
actual
kind of
patch.
sits in there and then doesn't bond and then it crystallizes. And we have pictures of that, and that's yeah, it's just that's why it doesn't work.
So
So
that's, so that's why you space out the adhesive,
Yep.
leaving some air in there.
Yep.
That's smart.
Yeah.
How much testing did you do to try to figure that out?
Well, I mean, we started the company in 2018, right? And I mean, a lot of the credit for the testing goes to my dad. I mean, he has an engineering background and spent an obscene amount of time in the basement at our house in Northeast Ohio, a little town called Hiram. Just a shameless plug there. And he spent a ton of time in there testing all different kinds of methods. And these videos are now off YouTube, but we had other methods when we were putting treads on tires of how to apply the adhesive that we found out didn't work in like longer term things. So it's kind of cool. But I mean, we started the company in 2018 and then that came out in March of 2020. So I mean,
Okay.
it was a lot of different testing, trying to figure out what was the best way to use it and how to make it work.
Gotta love a dad that's an engineer that's willing to like put in the grind work.
He's been great. And and it's funny. We talk about this a lot, but like he and I, like since we were in high school, since I was in high school, he obviously wasn't at the same time.
That'd be awkward. That'd be weird.
That would be awkward. No, but since I was in high school, we had always talked about starting a business together, and that's really where the root of this came. Is like he and I just love working together. He's like the easiest guy to work with, and just like he's started and run a business of his own. He's retired now. He works very much an advisory role, but like he's he just put so much time and effort into making this possible. And I've just been really fortunate to have this experience with him. It's been
That's
really
awesome.
fun.
So are you guys 50-50 owner right now, or how's that?
Yeah, I mean he's retired on paper. On paper, no.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, we both share in the wins. You
Gotcha,
know, and,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and brunt the losses as well. But
Yeah,
there's
cool.
Yeah, plenty of both.
So let's jump to the recent few days.
Let's talk
Sure.
about some wins here.
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
So you picked him up from the airport. You met
Yeah.
Eric. You met Luke. Then you met me.
Uh-huh.
Right down
It's a
at
great intro to NorCal.
Right. And then this really cool gladiator on 29 showed up. And he met Nick. And then Morphlate Ryan.
Yeah.
And then we stabbed some tires.
Yeah.
And you patched. We stabbed the front 2 tires.
Yep.
And we shot a bunch of video. I think Simon's up to like 300 gigs of video or
Honestly,
something
it
like
might be
that.
something close to that.
About 350.
I'm up to like 12.
12 gigs.
So we punctured the front 2 tires of Kermit. We patched them. We started driving the Rubicon.
Yep.
And I want to get your guys' feedback on, is this your first time to Northern California?
Not to Northern California, but to Northern California in this kind of environment.
Okay.
Like the High Sierras.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time this year. I've done the John Muir Trail. I did the Lost Coast Trail, but those were on foot,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
actually faster.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
But I don't know. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah,
Sam?
I've spent some time in Yosemite and I think Sequoia National Forest,
Sure.
but never around Tahoe.
Okay.
It's similar out here, but just very, very pretty.
It is.
It's been cool.
Yosemite and northern Tahoe area are actually like this. They're very similar. There are redwoods, pine, granite.
You don't have the giant sequoias of Sequoia National Park, though.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, that's a big difference, but they're similar though.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of knew what you're getting yourself into landscape wise.
Sure.
Did you know what you're going to get yourself into vehicle wise?
No.
Not at all. No, this is a whole. It's funny hearing you guys talk about this whole thing because I spend a lot of time outside and do a lot of outdoor activities, and I spend a lot of time in high alpine environments like this. But getting introduced to this whole wheeling thing that you guys do has been just something that I love about filming and the work that I do is that I sort of get to be a fly on the wall observer of something new, and part of my job is to like ask questions and listen and try to learn and understand about something new. And so that's just been something that I've enjoyed, like hearing you guys talk about your rigs and asking questions about how the gearing works and all these kind of details. And
You got to see how the starter works, too.
yeah,
The most sophisticated tool on the trail.
A hammer.
I need to start carrying a hammer in my truck, man.
If you don't carry tools in your truck, you're in bad news bears.
Oh, I got a tire iron.
That'll work.
That'll work as a hammer.
Yeah.
That's a hammer.
Everything's a hammer according to Elon. Yeah. Cool. So we started the trip. We went through Gatekeeper. What when we got to Gatekeeper and you saw it for your eyes, like did you go like, yeah, no, nobody's getting through there? Or were you like, this is going to be a really interesting trip. Let's see what happens.
I got really stoked because like Gatekeeper obviously is like a technical obstacle, but like you guys hadn't mentioned it as one of the more difficult ones. But like to me, I was like, that's a pretty significant thing to get through. Like I've never owned a vehicle that could do that, aside from maybe a dirt bike, but that just wouldn't be fun. Like we've seen some that's a different thing. But yeah, so seeing that was cool. But then I was just like, this is gonna be really fun. And obviously, you guys have the vehicles that are capable for it. Which has just been really fun to watch them work and like also recognize that like the reason that these vehicles are capable of what we've been taking them through is because of the work that you guys put in off camera and when you're not on the trail. You let me drive your rig, Tyler, and this is not my realm of expertise. But like I was able to make it through some stuff, but that's not because I'm any good. That's because you did such a good job of making your rig capable, which I just think is super cool.
I had full trust in you guys. I didn't have any doubts that we would
That's
get
scary.
through or anything.
That's a very scary comment. Like that.
I've lost the trust as the days have gone by. But I started out with full trust.
It's diminishing.
Yeah.
Every moment is going down.
But yeah, seeing some of the terrain, it's like I know we're gonna make it through because you guys are confident enough in it. But looking at it, it's just like, why do people take cars up here?
Why do we do
That's a valid question. It really is. It's faster to hike it. I think there's the love of trying to engineer something that will actually conquer an obstacle. But
Totally.
Yeah.
but it's a valid question.
Yeah.
Cool. So we got through Gatekeeper, and did we rip off any glue treads?
Not on Gatekeeper.
Nope,
No.
not on Gatekeeper.
I guess that one was pretty mellow though, compared to the stuff that we ran into later. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
When we first showed up, I was like, "Whoa, this is gnarly!"
That's a great gatekeeper, right?
Yeah, so we drove through Gatekeeper. We went up the Snail Hill. I loved capturing you guys' expressions on the camera of seeing the granite bowl for the first time.
For sure.
And looking out and just seeing it.
What happened on the bowl that was kind of like, I don't know. I felt like to us, we were kind of like, oh, oh, okay, that happened, whatever, we'll just take care of it. But like when it happened, Andy jumped out of the 4Runner and sprinted over to what happened
side by side.
Yes.
No, so there's this little itty bitty ledge. I just want to phrase it.
Yeah.
And some guy from Montana
Okay.
couldn't handle it and flipped his side by side to the side of the side by side. Just
On the
flopped
driver's
it.
side,
Yeah,
flipped it
driver's
over.
side. You know, and I'm walking up there and I'm like, "You cool? You okay? Are you like? Did you hit your shoulder? Are you all right?" Yeah, Andy like hopped out of the rig, ran over,
Grabbed his first aid kit.
Yeah, first aid kit in the hand, trauma kit in the other hand. You know,
I had
like,
no worry about the vehicle. I mean, I didn't want. I was
like,
worried
did you
about the
pop
guy.
a tire?
I've got something for you. He had a bunch of cans in the floorboard of that thing, but
Yeah.
they were all Mountain Dew, so I don't think it had anything to do with
No,
it. Yeah.
he was just jacked up on caffeine. It's like hammer down on the throttle.
Yeah.
So side by side flopped right at the top of the granite bowl.
So how is that? Have you guys seen like a flopped vehicle and been involved with getting it back on all fours and then just watch it just drive off like nothing happened?
Yeah.
Is that?
Actually, I've got a really funny story. We did a side-by-side shoot about a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And we had a different camera guy, not Simon, with us. His name's Travis, so shout out to Travis. And we were doing some drone stuff, and he was driving, and I was actually flying the drone, and he flipped. This was a rental. They were trading us like rental time for
Like
for
footage
production,
content. Okay.
yeah. So and then he was driving, and he flipped side by side, and it was kind of. I saw it on the drone.
Was he okay?
He was fine. Yeah, it was. I was like, come on, man. But at the same time, I couldn't be mad at him because like I have broken so much of my dad's stuff and like other people's things, like especially in the power sports side. It's like I couldn't be mad at him.
Hold
But
on.
yeah.
If I had known that you've broken a bunch of stuff before today, I don't know if I would have let you drive.
You shouldn't have let me drive.
Which is-
I told you that beforehand. I was straight. Yeah.
Did Travis pop a tire?
Not. We did intentionally, but not on the flip. Yeah. Yeah.
Was a tire popped, then glue treaded, and then you guys were driving, and then he flipped due to his own driving skill? And was
He ran
that
out of skill
tire
at
that
that
was
time.
patched, did it deflate?
There was not a patched tire during that flip.
Oh, okay.
That was a separate shoot. We actually didn't slice any tires. They let us slice some of their rental tires beforehand, but we didn't. They had put new ones on them since, so we didn't slice any of those. That was
Got it.
more of like a lifestyle shoot, as they say.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah.
he flopped, or he rolled.
Yeah, he just. It was more. It was actually kind of slow speed. He just kind of like. He was trying to do some donuts, and he was in 4-wheel drive, and it just kind of like came over slowly. So
I actually had
that is an otter for sure.
it's definitely an otter.
There's two?
There's two over there.
A male and a female. He gets the crawdads and gives it to her, and she steals it. And then he just sits on the island like.
Oh, that sounds like real life. So MF or Ryan over here, just let us know what's going on with the otters behind us. Apparently the male is going down catching crawfish, bringing it back up, and the female otter is stealing them from him, eats them on the island, and the male just goes, oh man, just goes back down in. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just like real life.
That's so funny. All right, so Travis
Anyway,
wasn't hurt.
He was fine. The vehicle was fine. It was like we had one bolt that punched through some plastic. It was honestly like
Nice.
It was really slow speed. It was kind of in slow motion, and it was no problem.
Cool.
I actually had a similar, not a flip, but like a teeter roll to the side of a Wrangler. We had a Wrangler when I was in high school, and as I said, I lived out in the prairie on. I think I said 45 acres. Is actually 35 acres. But we had this 1/4 mile long driveway that was just dust and kind of rutted out from all the rain and erosion and everything.
Okay.
So that's probably the most intense off-roading I've done, actually, is going up my driveway every day.
Sounds technical.
With my,
Which can be pretty big if you're in 45 or 35 acres in a rutted out driveway.
well,
so.
the thing was, that day I was in the passenger seat. My brother was driving, my older brother, Eric. And it was raining. It was kind of a light rain all day, so it kind of created this like soft mud on top of it, and he just was going a little too fast, I guess, and we kind of ran into the side of the eroded driveway, and it just kind of teetered and tipped on the passenger side, and everything was fine. But we had a GMC Yukon that we just tied a chain to basically and pulled it over. So, you know, I've seen this kind of stuff done, but seeing all of your guys' rigs kind of built up with the winch and everything that you need to kind of get yourself out of any situation is just taking it to the next level, which is pretty cool.
Quick question on that. Is this the first that your parents are going to hear of that flip, or were they aware?
No, they were aware. And it was funny because we called my mom and she was like, "Oh my God, is the Jeep okay?"
Doesn't care about you guys.
And then we called my dad and he was like, "Are you guys okay?"
That's like my first accident. I was like, I'm fine. The truck is totaled. They're like, but are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine, but the truck is totaled. But yeah, okay.
The Jeep was fine.
The Jeep was fine? Cool.
Okay.
So were we.
So the side-by-side ultimately was fine.
Yes.
We got him rolled back over in 5 minutes, maybe 10 at the most.
Yeah.
And then
We lifted it over.
pretty
Let's
much.
just be honest here.
Yeah.
We were like, no, let's just wait for the winch. And when we started winching, we lifted it so much that the winch cable slapped.
Yeah.
And then we're like, let's wait for the winch to pull the rest of the way. I always kept going, like, you want to lift it? And everybody's like, no, let's wait for the winch. I'm like, all right, fine. I wanted to be He-Man. Nobody let me.
So we let them go on their way. What was your guys' thoughts of coming out of Gatekeeper on top of the bowl and just seeing all the granite out in front of you guys?
Yeah, I mean, like anybody would say. I mean, it's just super pretty. You know, it's cool to see. And there were some other Jeeps kind of crawling up through that.
On the far side, yeah.
Yeah, I think, Jimmy, I think I said to you, is like when I come up on this landscape and look over, it's like, I don't, like, my first thought isn't, oh, how can I drive across this? You know, it's just like not what comes to mind because it doesn't look drivable. You know, it's not like anything you would expect to take a rig on unless you're familiar with the space. But yeah, I mean, just, you know, the Sierras are always just so pretty.
Or you're silly like we are.
Yeah. You have mental problems.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. So we got there, and then we got across the bowl, and we hit Whalebones. And
Well, we ate lunch real quick.
we ate lunch on the other side of the bowl because we kind of got a late start with all the filming of explaining how to put glue tread patches on, what's the right way, what's the wrong way, what are some tips about it.
We shot a lot at the sign, and then we came back down to the trees down in the spillway, and we shot some more. And I mean, we did a lot of videos right at the start. So we got, I mean, you had said wheels up at 10, and we were like noon.
Yeah, noon 30. Yeah, maybe.
Video really
It's
slows
literally
things
when
down.
we were starting.
Yeah.
So we got across the way. We got across the bowl. We ate lunch, and then we hit Whalebones.
Yep. And Andy, you were in my passenger seat when we hit Whalebones and went up that kind of left-hand turn just straight up, and you're just looking up at the sky.
Yeah, I think the exact words I said. I kind of looked over at you as I was holding onto the shit bar, and I was like, I don't think I've ever been at this angle in a vehicle.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I think I literally said the same exact thing to you in Jimmy's passenger seat.
Yeah. Bobcat was usually taking point. I would drive ahead, and then we'd stop, take photos of everybody.
Eject Simon out of the
Yeah, pretty
passenger
much. I had this button. Like, you gone.
It would land me in the perfect spot for the shot.
Yeah. I've been on the trail so many times. I'm like, so coming up is this obstacle, and it'd be really cool to get, talk about this or do that. And, it was fun to sit with somebody that's a professional doing it. And I'd be like, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? So that was pretty cool to
I'm
have
so
you
glad
aboard.
because literally I think at the Virgin Sturgeon I was like, Simon, we're going to have you ride with Jimmy out in front because I don't know how to set up shots. I'm like, I don't really know. I'm just going to drive through something. Like, and the whole day people are like, hey, do you want a shot of this? I don't know if I want it.
Yeah.
But I was like, Jimmy does YouTube videos. He knows the trail really well. You two are going to be able to 100% connect and be like, oh, this obstacle, Jimmy's going to be like, this obstacle's coming up here. This might be kind of a cool shot. What do you think? And I was like, so I'm kind of curious.
That.
Okay, cool. I was really curious how that was, like, what the conversation was like in Bobcat all through the past couple days.
It's been great. I mean, you're pretty modest, Jimmy, but I will say there's been a couple times when you've told me what shot you would get, and I would say, I'm going to do my own thing and figure it out. And then, 5 minutes later, I would end up in your original spot, getting the same shot that you told me to get.
Yeah. I've only been on this trail, like
Yeah.
40 times. So yeah. There's a few times when I'll look at it. I've gone on the trail looking at it as how would I film this, and every time I seem to get better and better and better. So, cool. So we wheeled through the Granite Bowl. We went up Whalebones. You guys freaked out. We continued on.
I will admit, Andy wasn't so much freaking out. He was kind of like giggling like a little schoolgirl. He goes,
Oh yeah,
I've been doing a lot of that.
he was doing a lot of that.
Especially when you have to play with the horn on you.
Oh my god! We'll talk about the siren later. I'm gonna have to take that controller away from him.
Yeah. We drove on. We went through Ellis. No problems. Shot some video. There's gonna be an epic video coming out. I mean, with freaking 300.
There's
50
so much
gigs.
amazing footage that has been happening on this trip.
We're gonna get
pretty
an
stoked
awesome
about-
video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm pretty stoked about all the cool shots we've gotten. It's pretty easy to get good looking stuff here, and with the rigs that you guys are running and just the views on the trail. So
Yeah. Really, the next major obstacle, I guess. Let's just jump ahead to Supple.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, we had no problems wheeling up Walker Hill. We had no problems across Ellis.
A little bit of traffic on Walker, but that's it happens.
Somebody broke a track bar in front of us, but it was already fixed when we pulled up there. The guys were putting everything away. They pulled off on the side. We passed them. Then they passed us later.
They passed us later. Yeah.
We have not been setting land speed records.
No. It's always funny when people say, like, how long does it take you to go from A to B? I go, well, if I drove it, it would take, 2 hours. But if we're filming, it'll take 4.
4 or 5.
Yep. So, and we've been filming the whole way. So it's not a bad thing, but it slows you down because you try to get different shots.
Yeah.
So what happened at Supple?
Well,
Besides Bobcat driving up it.
Yeah,
With no problem.
No problem. Bobcat drove right up. There was a little bit of a point where you were spinning all 4 tires, just not really going anywhere. And I was like, oh, just turn a little bit driver, come up literally you came up 6 inches more, and then went full lock passenger, just went right through it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, he made that look easy. I think Supple's in good condition. It should be no problem getting the 4Runner up. But I was like, out of everything we're doing, and I was like, I don't know if we're going to do Old Sluice because depending on time. I was like, if we don't do Old Sluice, out of everything we do, Supple is going to be the test for glue tread patches.
Yep.
And I was like, and the main reason why is because as you're doing Supple, the way I do Supple is I just lay the passenger side sidewall on that middle shelf, the shelf. Yeah. And just that's how I get traction to pull myself up Supple. And I was like, that sidewall is just going to be grinding into that shelf, and we'll see what happens. I'm really curious to see if I just rip it off, or if it withstands it, or what's going to go on. And so I started going up, and I had the sidewall on the shelf. But I was also caught up on my slider, on my passenger side slider, and I just wasn't climbing. I didn't have the driver's side in the crack. And I thought, okay, let's back down, reposition. Got repositioned a couple of times. And finally, I got the driver front up in that crack on the upper ledge.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to, slowly climbing the crack and then falling back down. Slowly climbing, falling back down. And I'm thinking, all I'm concerned about is this passenger tire. I'm like, I kept asking, I think, hey, is my passenger sidewall on that ledge? That's usually all I need to pull myself up, and it wasn't really happening, and I'm like, what's going on? And then finally somebody pointed out, I think it was either you or Ryan. It was Ryan.
Yeah.
He goes, dude, you are demolishing this patch in the crack. I'm like, what are you talking about? I look out my window, and the tire is just rotating and just grinding down this patch in the crack on the upper ledge on Supple on the driver's side. And I'm just sitting there looking at it. I'm like, that's actually pretty fucking cool. It's not ripping the patch off. The tire is getting sucked under this undercut of the crack and then popping out on the other side, and the patch is molding and everything with it. So I just kind of sat there for a minute. I was like, this is actually pretty cool. I'm just watching the tire go round and round and round.
It was no less than 50 revolutions.
Oh, easy.
It's just,
how did you feel during that time?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the same thing. It's like I know it's going to work, But then at the same time, it's like, dude, I was hoping you kind of just crawl up here and it'd be no problem. We wouldn't have to watch this go through that crap 50 times, you know? I'm like, all right, this is cool, but quit watching it and get up here.
Yeah. Can you please stop testing it? I wanted to just. Can you just move on?
Can we just, let's come on. I got a flight to catch in a couple days.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I sat there and spun the tires. I thought I was hung up on something, and everybody said I wasn't hung up on anything.
No.
I just wasn't climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird.
And it was for like a good 10 minutes. I just sat there spinning all 4 tires and just wasn't climbing and kept trying different things. It wasn't happening. So finally I was like, you know what, just hook up the winch. Let's go. Like,
Yeah. What was funny was you said, hook up the winch, just pull me out. Let's just get out of here. But that during that time, you kept spinning your tires.
You weren't giving us any breaks.
I got
I was like-
lot of good
I kept
footage.
looking back like, are you going to stop? Like, do you want me to like reverse the truck? He's still trying? Like, I don't know what's going on
I
here.
was kind of like, while Jimmy's positioning the truck, I'm just still going to keep going and see if I can get it and see if I can rip these patches off. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have some time while Jimmy's getting in position to just keep trying.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
so anyways, it went on for another 2 minutes. I don't know, maybe whatever, while you were going. And there's some really freaking cool footage of, I guess,
Yeah.
me trying to rip off those sidewall patches on
so
Super Bowl.
I got, long story short, unfortunately, you didn't make it up Super Bowl this
I
time.
didn't under my own power, yeah.
But we also didn't rip a glue tread off, and it
have
still
no-
wasn't leaking air.
It wasn't leaking air. I have no clue how. The technology and the research, the R&D going into it, definitely proved its point. Like, I totally thought, looking at that, I was going to come up on the top and it was going to be ripped off or leaking or something. No issues whatsoever.
Right.
It really sort of became part of the tire at that obstacle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to feel that patch now. It feels like thinner. Like, I think we got a video. We went up to it, and I just took my hands, which are black, but took my hands and rubbed them across the top of that patch, and there's just like rubber, like rubber specks on my hands from
like
just
rubber dust.
Yeah, it was
essentially,
like it was sanding itself off on that, but it just it was
Which
just,
is
it's
the
crazy
way
to see.
any sidewall would work.
Right
at that point
as
in
if
time,
it was
right?
part of the tire.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
It was after that I was like, I don't think we're gonna have any issues. Like, I think we're good, you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our goal was to get to Buck.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have terribly much farther to do that, but we did have a few obstacles in the way.
Yeah.
So from that, the Gladiator tried.
On the stock 29s.
On the stock
29s,
on the
yeah.
stock 29s, it tried. Unfortunately, did not make it that time. Did make it the previous time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just bad directions.
Probably.
Or really gritty, sandy rocks, which the rocks were super slippery.
I think
today.
that it's just super dug out. With the guy that was ahead of us said that every other time he's been on the trail 4 or 5 times, he's literally just been driving through and he's like, oh, Super Bowl, and just turns, doesn't stop, doesn't slow down, and just drives right up it.
That's what I do.
Yeah. And
Pretty
but
much.
he said this was the first time he hasn't accomplished Super Bowl.
Hey, kudos to that guy for 3 and out.
Yes, 100%. He was phenomenal.
No kudos to that guy for pulling up next to us and be like, hey, thanks for being Toyota guys that don't drink and throw your beer cans everywhere,
Yeah.
hitting the rev limiter.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another thing there, unfortunately.
So, all right, moving on.
Anyways, moving on. So after Super Bowl, I'm kind of like, these
All
are
right.
these are freaking awesome. We're not gonna have any issues. Let's just get through the trail. We'll get to Buck Island, and we're just gonna stab the rear 2 tires tomorrow, and we're gonna be
Well,
great.
we hit Little Sluice. No problems there.
No issues at Little
Made it
Sluice.
through.
I almost rolled the Forerunner.
You almost
A
rode the
couple
Gladiator.
I didn't almost roll the Gladiator.
We were 4x4 Jeep Tyler
4x4 Jeep and Tyler.
at that point.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We did sit there for like 2 hours waiting for a
Just
Jeeps.
about.
2 Jeeps.
About 300 women hikers passed us.
I don't. We'll get into that in another episode.
He needs some time
I'm
to process.
severely disappointed in the guides of that trip, and we'll get into that later. But
So
yeah,
one thing on Little Sluice was, I feel like that was the hardest thing. Well, actually,
That was the hardest thing on the glue treads. I think that
you
we
think
felt.
so?
Oh yeah.
Even harder than Soup Bowl? Because I was going to say that
No,
that
Little
looks
Sluice.
like...
Sorry, back up. Yeah, Soup Bowl was the hardest thing I think we've done on this trip on the glue treads for sure.
Yes.
So sorry, Little Sluice.
I seeing Little Sluice, that was a kind of a longer and sustained technical section, more so than Soup Bowl, which was sort of one,
A couple ledges, you're good to go.
Yeah, and so for me, seeing that was really interesting. Not really having seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And you guys had said that that's kind of a classic section, which makes sense, but it definitely blew me away.
Sure.
We want that one. Sorry.
I want the margarita.
We're getting beers passed out here, and he's keeping the good margarita to himself.
No, so I think Little Sluice, for somebody that wanders onto the Rubicon for the first time ever and sees an obstacle, is shocked.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's
like Soup Bowl is like one little thing.
Sure.
Little Sluice continues.
Yeah.
He's like, I made it over that rock. Now I made it over that rock. Now okay.
And there's
what
not
the
a
fuck
lot
am
of-
I going to do now?
There's not a lot of room to maneuver either. I mean, there's very few line options in Little Sluice. It's just a big boulder field, and you're just kind of like, well, I guess I'm here.
Yeah.
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 So we go through Little Sluice. Jimmy walked right through it, no problem. And then I came through on the Forerunner, and I'm like, I'm gonna roll this thing.
You were like, it was so funny because you were trying to climb this rock on your rear tire. You were like 1-2 inches from the top of the rock,
Story of my life.
right? And you kept pulling a tire, and I was like, man, we just like, if you could figure out if we can get you to the top of that,
Just 2 more inches.
2 more inches. That's all I need.
One more
Tyler.
inch. I'm sorry.
You would make it through, and eventually, unfortunately, I had to move. I threw a rock under your passenger front tire, and that leveled you out just enough to get you over that obstacle.
Gave you that inch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gave you that inch.
Jimmy gave me the inch that I needed.
I'll loan it to you anytime,
Thank you, buddy. But after that, I got over that little spot, and then there's what's considered quote unquote the hard part of Little Sluice, in my opinion. And I walked right through that. I mean, I kind of jumped on my sliders a couple times, but that's what sliders are for, in my opinion. But what was funny about Little Sluice was it was finally people started telling me that one of my favorite sayings for off-roading that nobody has ever heard of it before.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought, like, every time I've said it before, people are like, okay, cool. And they seem to say, like,
No, we
they
always
understand.
have thought that you're an idiot.
There you go.
I still don't fully understand how it translates to crawling.
Okay, so we're okay. So in the whitewater world, there's a term called boofing a rock. When you boof a rock, it means you're coming up out of the water and you're sliding across a rock and then coming back down into the water. And so in off-roading, I've used that term synonymous with, you know, you put a tire on the edge on the outside of a rock as you're making a turn, and instead of climbing the rock, your tire boofs around the rock. I don't know how to say it any
It
differently.
boofs around, so the rock is on the outside of the tire.
Yeah. And literally, so you're not climbing the tire just kind of molds and scoots around and slides across the rock and use
So,
that
like-
as almost like a pivot point.
So like using the sidewall, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
The sidewall, I use it on my sliders too. Like I'll put my slider on a rock and slide my sliders across a rock to act as a pivot point to make a sharper turn, kind of thing.
So if you're out there and you know what this term is, and if you've heard of boofing and you've used it, or if you have another term, please let us know.
Please let me know, because I told the guys there was a group in front of us that we were waiting an hour and a half, almost 2 hours to get through Little Sluice, and I was like, yeah, that rock right there, just boof it. And they looked at me like I was stupid. And I was like, they're like, what? I was like, just boof that rock. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, just boof, like slide around the rock. And that's when everybody else in our group is like, yeah, Tyler's an idiot. You guys, like, Tyler's making up words here. And I'm like, what do you guys don't know what? Like, then it just occurred to me.
I've never heard that term in my life before you've said it. And I knew what you meant.
Okay.
But I've never heard it before you said it.
Interesting.
It's a whitewater rafting term that you've turned into an off-road term.
Okay, that's fascinating to me. Nobody before today has ever told me that they didn't know what that meant.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
So anyways,
so we got through Little Sluice.
I got to drive the Gladiator on 29s.
Yeah. For some reason, whenever the Gladiator is on the Rubicon, in Little Sluice, the driver chooses to let somebody else drive.
Yeah. He prefers the spot at that point. Yeah.
From cruising to cramp, drive it last time.
Cruising to cramp?
Cruising to cramp, because he has cramps whenever he cruises. Cruising to camp. And then 4x4 Jeep and Tyler drive it the rest of the way this time.
Yeah. So anyways, we got through Little Sluice, and then pretty much from there it was... Well, after there was just getting to Indian Trail and then down to Buck, really?
Yeah, pretty much. We smooth sailing the rest of the way.
Yeah.
It was getting kind of late. We had a matter of time to get down before it was dark, and we got to Morflate Ryan was walking actually quite a ways ahead of us.
Yeah,
and started doing some scouting for us and finding camp spots, and we just cruised into camp. No pun intended there. Sorry, Lee. We cruised down there and found a good camp spot, one of my favorite spots, and made camp, had some chili, relaxed, sat around a campfire, and had a few drinks, and started shooting the shit
pretty
for a
much.
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Good night. So what was your guys' thoughts on day one? Andy and Simon, how did you think day one went? Like, what were your expectations for day one versus how it actually went?
Yeah, let's let Andy go first.
Yeah, I mean, my expectations were... I guess I didn't really know what to expect. I haven't done anything this technical, you know, so like I didn't have a good picture in my mind of what it would look like.
Have you had sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Andy first. Have you had any idea of what the Rubicon was before
definitely.
you came out here?
Yeah, I mean, I was familiar with the trail, and like I'd watched videos of it, but like as everyone knows, like when you watch it on camera, it doesn't do it justice.
All right.
It's one thing to like see it on YouTube. It's another thing to be like holding on to the oh shit bar. You know what I mean?
How about Simon? Have you seen anything in regards to this before?
Sadly, I'm embarrassed to say, but I did not know what the Rubicon was before this. I actually asked Andy what it was because I had heard of the Rubicon Trail, but what I thought was that it was some kind of a hiking trail or something like that. And then Andy helped me put it together that the Jeep Rubicon was named after the Rubicon Trail, and then it's a very famous off-roading trail.
Okay. So, end of day one,
Yeah.
You've just experienced the Rubicon. Simon's never had any knowledge of the Rubicon. Andy did. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
felt,
you were saying.
Yeah, I felt a sense of relief, honestly. I mean, I knew that at that point you guys had talked about Soup Bowl and that being like the ultimate test of the patch, and like as I said earlier, like I know it works, but like even so, when you're on the trail and you're like in it, it's like. And like for me, it's like I've bet a lot on that, and so getting through the hardest part and seeing it run through Soup Bowl, like run through that crack like 50 plus times, I was like, we're gonna be good from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I had a sense of relief, and I was just like pretty stoked, just kind of seeing the results and then seeing the reactions from the patch, you know, from people watching it go through. I think that was cool for me. So it was a sense of relief, and it's been a long day. I was ready for some sleep too, but like at the end of the day, yeah, just sense of relief. So.
Simon?
Yeah, it was a long day for sure. I was really ready for some sleep and just to lie down at the end of the day. But yeah, I really didn't have any expectations going into it. I feel like as a filmmaker, a lot of my job is sort of to be open and ready for whatever happens. So I think a lot of the day for me was like asking you guys what's coming up, you know, what are the obstacles that I should film? What are the things that are iconic that people are going to know about, that we really should get on camera, and kind of trying to adjust my schedule around that, and trying to capture some of the things that are just totally, you know, random and new to me, but you guys and your listeners will really recognize that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's in a way that was kind of funny because it was like I've ran this trail so many times, and you guys have never been here,
Right.
And so I'm sitting here telling you, it's like, this is this obstacle, this is what's coming up, this is what we're gonna do.
And there's so many that I'm sure I asked you the same thing like 6 times. Like, all right, wait. So what's after this?
We were talking about that at one point. Yeah. So, okay. So at the end of day 1, we all kind of crashed. We had a good time. It was a long day. That was definitely the longest day on the trail. Next morning, here we are. We wake up.
I would like to point out, though, we got on the trail noon 30, like right around there.
Yeah.
We made it to Buck Island by 7:40 with all the filming as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty damn good pace.
That's pretty good.
With a 2-hour holdup too.
With a 2-hour holdup at Little Sluice.
And we were ready to go. I mean, if there was nobody there, we would.
We would have ran it.
Yeah. So
For sure.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was a long day, but I was like, I thought we did pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So, start of day 2.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler starts gaining more confidence in Kermit and
after
Glue
Soup
Tread.
Bowl, I was like, no, I'm all in. Let's go. Let's stab all these tires here.
Yeah. And so we wheeled out past tree line
Mm-hmm.
and pulled up on a granite ledge, and
Out on
you
the
fucking
plateau.
stabbed 2 more tires, and now we have 4 compromised tires
Yep.
Yeah.
wheeling the remainder of the Rubicon Trail.
Yeah, man. I'm
Yeah, the one stab too was actually it was 2 stabs in the shape of a V that were both like at least 1.5 inches long.
yeah.
That's a pretty serious piece of damage.
I was like, maybe I was feeling a little bit too confident with that
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
one. I stabbed it, and Andy comes up. He goes, "Dude, I thought you were just doing the 1 stab, not the 2." And I was like, it's doing great, man.
you're not doing me any favors.
Yeah.
But we patched everything right there after tree line.
Mm-hmm.
And we wheeled Big Sluice, we wheeled Sawtooth, we wheeled Property Line.
Mm-hmm.
And did we have any problems?
Yes and no. I would say we only really had a problem because Andy's a perfectionist.
Both of you guys are
And-
perfectionists. Let's be honest.
No, so coming through right before Margarita Tree or Dam Road Closed Tree, there's a kind of a tight S-turn. And the way that I do that S-turn, because I have short enough wheelbase, you two freaks of nature over here, you just climb the rock on the inside, just cut the turn. I have a barely short enough wheelbase. I don't know if it qualifies as fitting, but I can kind of take that turn. But what I do is I boof.
Nice.
I boof the
Good job.
rock.
Yeah.
Thank you. On the passenger side with my rear passenger tire, and I boof the rock on the driver's side with my front driver tire. So catty corner, right? And I knew coming through there, I was like, I'm either going to rip this sidewall patch off of the rear passenger tire, or I'm going to climb that rock as I come around. One or the other is going to happen. And I hit. It didn't climb, I'll tell you that. And I thought for sure I had ripped that patch off of that tire. Like, I got through the obstacle and immediately, like, everything else up until now, I was like, okay, we're through the obstacle. I felt pretty good about that. And let's just keep going. I stopped after the obstacle. I was like, we should probably check on that. That was bad.
Well, it was funny because everybody else started moving. I was at the back of the pack at that point. And I was like, okay, everybody's moving. Let's go. And I take this corner. I'm like, everybody stopped. Well, I'll just pull up on this rock and all of this hop out. Okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm really stoked that Simon got. I think Ryan got it too.
Ryan got into both
You
those
both
videos.
got perfect footage of that. I mean, I don't know how you could stress the patch anymore. All the weight was on it, and it was just, I mean, perfectly wrong by my, but from my perspective, from the viewer's perspective, perfectly right. But like, just you couldn't have made that any worse than it was.
No, and to give kind of everybody a reference until the video comes out, I literally had used my beadlock ring to get around and climb that rock and get traction on that rock. Like,
No, absolutely. You folded the tire so much that the tire was pressed against your beadlock ring.
Yes.
And it happened to be right where the patch was.
Yes.
So you folded the patch.
Yes. I know. That's why I was like, I
How'd you know that?
because of how long I could feel my beadlock ring dragging on the rock. I was like, I had to have done a full rotation. Like there's that's why I was like, that's when I stopped. I was like, we need to check this.
Did I just fuck it all up?
Yes, I was like, that's essentially
Is this
what's going
video
through my
just
head.
screwed right now?
Yes. So huge shout out to Glue Tread and Raceline for being able to withstand that abuse through that turn. And I did lift up one of the edges and was causing it to start leaking. It wasn't a major leak. Like I think we could have made it down to the springs without fixing it, without adding any more air to the tire. It was that small of a leak, but it was still leaking a little bit.
Sure.
Which actually gave us a really cool opportunity to show what happens if that happens. So what do you do if that happens?
Yeah, so if you get a leak, I mean, it's pretty simple where you pry the corner back, drop adhesive in, and just hold it to firm. And note, hold it firm with something other than your finger. Use the backside of a pocket knife, use another patch, whatever it might be.
Why don't you want to use your finger to hold it in there?
How many times have you glued your fingers together?
You mean in this trip or just? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy to glue your finger to the tire, and also to glue your fingers to themselves. Another plug for that. Like my dad did that pretty bad a couple times, but just be careful with the adhesive. I mean, it'll glue your fingers together, and you won't be able to put it out. But that's the reason why it works. So, so I mean, and we were able to pull out. You put a little adhesive in there, hold it tight, hit it with the accelerator, and it'll go. I think if our goal was, if that was a patch you'd put on, you didn't have a spare, and we weren't here to make an experience and show what it can do, we would have just aired up and headed back to the truck, and we'd have been fine.
100%. We totally still would have made it down to the Springs, up Cadillac, out to Tahoma. We would have maybe had to air up once, maybe twice.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, but we totally would have made it back to safety, no problem.
Yeah. So again, a rescue patch, right? Not necessarily a permanent repair, especially for the way you guys ride. But yeah, I mean, so I guess we got down and had lunch and swapped it out because of our perfectionist tendencies. And
let's talk about that for a quick second, just for our listeners. So we wheeled through Big Sluice.
Andy
Andy actually drove
with good coaching.
Kermit through Big Sluice. We got down to the bottom. And we wheeled just the rocky ledges more, got at a flat spot, and they decided, you know what, let's pull the patch off and replace it with another patch. So what is that process like? Is there a specific step-by-step that somebody might need to do?
Yeah, sure.
If they're perfectionists, like the two people I have across the table from me?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, first you have to get the patch off, which you're probably not going to be able to do it by hand. So you'll need some kind of, we use channel locks, but a plier, something you could probably do with a Leatherman. But so you have to get the patch off. And then again, the prep, especially on the second time, is even more important. I mean, what happens, and you'll see if you ever put a patch on and take it off, that the adhesive cures maybe not quite an 1/8 inch, probably at least a 1/16 of an inch into the tire. So when you pull the patch off,
you have a golf ball.
Yeah,
it really does look like a golf ball. There's dimples and all.
Yeah, there's a divot in the side of the tire, so you have to sand that down. And obviously all our kits have this 80 grit sandpaper, which will do that. But if you have a power sander with an angle grinder or a Dremel or whatever you might have with you, this is a great time to use that. But you got to get another flat surface, and the prep the second time's harder. There's no way around that.
Yeah. Because you have to get rid of all the crystallized adhesive.
Exactly.
And the bonded adhesive before you can adhere more adhesive to the surface.
Yeah. So when we did the second patch, I took a lot of time around lunch and just made sure we did it right and went through the whole thing. And I mean, we're sitting here looking at it right now, and I mean, it looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
It's not, I mean, all four of them look good, but that one.
And I just want to reiterate that the original patch still would have got us out.
Sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right. Like it was a very nitpicky slow leak where you guys were like, yeah, it's leaking.
It was like one little bubble coming out and some water. And it's like,
I was like, why don't you just fucking put air in there and let's roll? Why are we dealing with this?
Yeah.
Let's show that you patched it and we got out. And to you guys' credit, no, we want to show that it works, and you show that you can redo it.
Yeah.
And I think you actually and tell me if this is right or wrong, but you probably could have just put a patch over a patch.
Yeah, we talked about that. I've never, I guess, formally tested that theory, but it might have worked. Yeah, I think a big part in that is like in the video, we want to be like transparent. Like we're not here to like show you something that's not right. Like we want to show you like if you like that's pretty extreme. It's pretty extreme experience for that corner of the tire, but we're not trying to it's not a scam. Like if it doesn't work, we're going to show you why it didn't work and then how to fix it and then how to continue on your way. I think that's really important for us. So.
Yeah. And we're 2-3 miles back through some of the hard sections of the trail. We're 12 miles through the end, at least till the end of the trail. And, we're not out yet.
No.
Right?
We still got Cadillac Hill and then all of 10 miles back to Tahoma.
Well, when you guys were redoing that tire is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because now we're at the Springs, but we were still at least we're around a half mile out when you guys redid the tire. And once you redid it, we went down property line and across the bridge through some obstacles in the Springs.
There
and here
needs
we
to be
are.
a name for that little lateral ledge, the S-turn in the lateral ledge in the trail.
Yeah, they really should.
Yeah, we checked in with, actually, we saw John Arns from episode 220, and we were like, John, what's the name of that lateral ledge in the trail between Big Sluice and property line? And he goes, there's no name.
Snail Hill 2.
Snail ledge.
Yeah, snail ledge. So, anyway, so here we are at the Springs, 4.5 patches later. Tires.
Which we got, all 4 tires, we did all with one kit. I thought when you pointed that out, I was like, oh shit, we did. We've done all of this so far with just one 4x4 kit.
Yeah,
which was really impressive.
That is, I actually didn't know that until right now.
That's
pretty impressive.
If you can trash all 4 of your tires and all 4 of your sidewalls in one trip, that's impressive in itself.
Absolutely. So we're sitting here at the Springs, 4 tires slashed, 4.5 repair kits later. Tires are holding. How do you guys feel?
I feel great.
I feel good.
We should have slashed all 4 at Lumen. Let's go back.
Do it again, round 2.
Round 2. Let's lap it.
Simon, you in? You want to film again?
Well, we got Sierra Trek tomorrow, so we can just go over and do 4 nights.
You bringing Kermit to Sierra Trek and you're gonna romp it? Oh, okay.
No,
I will.
You will. Okay, you can bring him up.
Want me to do river run with slash tires?
Yeah.
Why don't we slash the 29s on the Gladiator next?
You can't buy 29s right now. That's the problem. You're getting hard to find.
NATO's not making 29s anymore. Apparently, you can't find tires any 40-inch size in the nation. It's impossible.
It's getting pretty damn.
But
difficult.
I'm almost open to slash my 37s.
Yeah.
$500 does not buy a tire.
No, not for us.
Sizes.
Yeah.
No. For side by side, maybe.
Side by side, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what do you, as the owner of Glue Tread, how are you feeling? What are you gonna say, after the conclusion of day 2?
Yeah.
Knowing that we're probably gonna make it out of here, no problem.
Sure.
Because we've really done the hardest obstacles at this point.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Again, feeling relieved at the end of the day, and I'm really excited for the video to come out. I think we had so many cameras rolling around and some guys that are really good at getting really good footage, and I think it's going to do a really good job of just showing people. That's the biggest battle we have is people don't believe it's going to work, but I really hope that after doing this, what more can you do? What more can you say other than we slashed our tires and did the Rubicon? What more can you ask for?
What are you going to say to those haters?
God, I don't know. Send them the link of the YouTube video. You don't have it speaks for itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta be like, listen.
Hey, I appreciate them. I mean, they're poking holes and stuff, and I mean that's what helps make us better.
Pun intended.
Yeah,
They're poking holes. We're poking holes.
yeah. No, I think I think at the end of the day, it comes back to what we were saying earlier on why we showed. I mean, we could have just patched that and not told anybody, but I think it comes back and like this. I'm a horrible salesman because I'm just like, there's no sales pitch to it. It's just like, just watch. Just see it, and I think I mean, it's just that's what we really shoot for, is just to be genuine. And it's like, you're in a serious spot. If you have a problem with your tire and you can't get out, that's actually a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So if somebody's going to be able to rely on our product, I think it's important to be able to show the whole process and show that it works. And so I don't say anything. Just reply with a link. Let them watch it.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting from an outside perspective, as somebody who doesn't really know much about this sport, we've run into 4 or 5 at least people on the trail who have kind of asked us what we're doing, and we sort of explain the whole thing to them. And then I see Andy getting his pitch mode and like show him a thing of glue tread and give him a free little packet, and the amount that they relate with it already after not really knowing what it is, but obviously having that problem so much, is just kind of speaks for itself too. So
totally,
it seems like everybody should have one of these in their
I think a lot of people have kind of heard it.
Yeah.
Or like it's in their subconscious, like, oh, I've heard of that, or oh, that's the sidewall patch thing.
Yeah.
Right, but they don't really have taken the leap to trust it or know that it works.
Sure.
And when we've been romping around through here and we've been talking to people,
We've
or
been
like
showing people what the patches look like right now.
Everybody's like, oh shit, I need that.
Yeah.
Like this, you're literally out here testing it and showing that it's working and it's succeeding.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I need it.
Yeah.
I want it. Give it to me now. How do I buy it? So where do people go and buy this?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing is just getting it through our website, just gluetread.com. If you type into Google sidewall repair, we'll come up first because there's no other option. I mean, and you can get them on Amazon and stuff too. If we prefer selling through our website when we can, but I understand that sometimes people are in a hurry and they need that 2-day guarantee or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it's great if you can get it through our website. And the other thing is like, leave a review and tell people. I mean, that's the best thing is like, if you use it, send us a picture. If you use it, tell people, then that's the word of mouth is what's best for us, because that's the only way people are going to believe it. You have to hear it from someone you trust, which is why it's so great to be out here with you guys. People obviously trust you. And it's just really...
Which is, again, another scary comment.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, get it on the website and then tell your friends. So
nice. What's the website?
www.gluetread.com. We're simple,
Perfect.
man.
Simple and easy. I love it.
GLUETREAD. One word.
Perfect. Yeah. So you guys you have the 4x4 kit, obviously.
Yep.
Which is the one that we've been kind of using and abusing.
Yep.
Do you guys have other kits? Because I know we ran into Glenn, who we've talked about a little bit before on the podcast before.
Yeah.
And he said that he had another kind of fun little feature to his kit that he has.
Glenn got our deluxe kit, which is honestly like focused more towards a side-by-side market. And he's like, what's the CO2 for? Because he's running on 43s. And I'm like, well, for you, it's not for anything.
Yeah, it's not going to do anything for you.
But yeah, we have.
So you guys supply like little CO2 cartridges in that kit?
Yeah, 16-gram cartridges with a chuck that connects it to a Schrader or pressed a valve, so you can use it. I mean, mountain biking, or if you're at a tubeless tire, or a side-by-side, four-wheeler, whatever it might be. So we have kits. You can inflate your tire. We have the accelerator that makes it cure immediately. We have kits for agricultural use on tractors, side-by-sides, 4x4s, and prices ranging from $10 up to $80. For me, it's important to have a $10 option, because if that's where you're at, like, you can have some safety with $10, and I think that's important, and that will always be available on our site for that price.
100. That's cool. What comes in that $10 kit?
Yeah, it's patch and adhesive. Yeah, it's a 2-inch patch and a bottle of adhesive, and at the end of the day, that's really all you need.
Yeah.
Our best-selling kit's our external patch kit, no accelerator included, but it's got 4 patches. And remember, even in that external patch kit, there's 1 tube of adhesive. It's enough for all 4 patches.
It'll get you off. Yeah.
But if you want more
trail.
adhesive, we can. You can buy more adhesive on our on our website as well.
Does the $10 kit come with sandpaper too?
Yeah, yep, everything you need. You can buy a $10 kit and you can patch damage up to, at that point, an inch and a half damage. So
Prep is absolutely
do the prep.
Do the prep. I think that's not that I want to jump to final words right now, but I think that would be my final
Prep the
words.
tire. Yeah, prep the tire.
And that's what I've learned with your product is, if you don't do the prep, it's really not going to succeed. But the thing is,
but it does succeed.
But it
still
does
gets you off the trail.
It absolutely 100% does if you do the prep.
Yep.
Right. We've been romping through the Rubicon. one of the air quotes hardest trails for 4x4s in the nation.
Yep.
And we've not really even run into any problems. We've had a small leak,
super minor,
in one of the tires.
For sure.
We could have added more air and continued on and not had any problems.
Yeah,
because we did the proper prep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's really what it comes down to.
Yep. Prep the tire.
Do the prep, and you will succeed. So, but I wanted to ask you, Andy, is there a difference in rubber? Is there
Yes.
if a tire for a side-by-side or a tire for a truck or a tire for a commercial vehicle or tractor, is there do we need to concern ourselves that way? Or a quad?
Yeah, great question. We haven't found within any of the tires we've used a tire that doesn't work with the adhesive. There's been a ton of effort that we've put in, more effort into the rubber than we have into the adhesive of what we're extruding and what we're providing. So the rubber has been the biggest thing for sure. But with that said, all the tires all the tires that we've used we haven't had any problems that we've noticed among a certain brand or size or use. So
excellent. All right, so I don't want to say final words, but I think we're coming to the close. And I think that
sorry, I'm opening another beer.
I know. I was trying to. I was moving on. Right now, I just want to say, the Forerunner Kermit has been doing phenomenally, and we've put it through some rigorous testing.
I've kind of so after Super Bowl, I was kind of like, I didn't tell Andy in the car, but I was kind of like, let's see how many if I can rub one of these. Tear one of these off and let's just start boofing more tires.
So your challenge to yourself has been, can I actually try to tear one of these off?
Oh, going up Cadillac tomorrow, I'm going to try and rip one of those off.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm going to try for it. I know at least 2 opportunities going up Cadillac where that's going to be a good opportunity to try and rip one of those off.
In my opinion, if you didn't do it in Super Bowl, it ain't going to happen.
I agree. If I didn't do it in Super Bowl and I didn't do it at that S turn leaving Buck Island, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm still going to try.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So, Andy, what do you think? We are 2 hours into this. He probably had to go pee. Yeah.
Wow.
I was sitting here and I was like, I gotta pee so bad. So I got up and
ready to go. Is that what you did?
Yeah, that's what I ran off and did.
I'm ready to pee too.
Gladiator wants to say a word.
All right, so I gotta say I was a little bit skeptical, and I insisted that Tyler bring at least one spare if I was coming on the trip, and I would take more because I didn't want to be stuck out here and have to take a full week of work or go back home and get some tires.
Yeah.
So I was probably the hardest person to impress when we came out here.
But I will say you were definitely one of the little voices of reason in my head. I was like, no, we're not gonna have any issues, and you're like, you need to bring 2 spares out here with you, and I was like, well, I guess I have them, and if you have the space and you're willing to carry them, we can, I guess, make that happen. But I was like, I mean, I guess you're pretty right. We should probably make sure that we can get through this.
So Nick,
but I just wanted the reason I just walked over here and started talking is I just want to say I'm thoroughly impressed. I'm a believer. I actually already own the product because I got it as a Christmas gift because my mother-in-law gave it to me. But I'm going to go buy the 4x4 kit after this. And I'll probably split it up into all of my rigs because I don't need like 4 patches in each rig, but 1 patch and 1 glue in each rig.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I'm going to roll. And mostly for me, I'll probably throw on my spare. But you know me, I help every single truck I come across on the trail that needs it. And I would be more than happy to prep someone's truck with my angle grinder, put that patch on, and inflate their tire. So,
I will say, if you guys have a battery-powered 4.5-inch grinder, that has been money prepping tires and beveling the edges. Like for rock crawling, I think beveling the edges has been nice. It's been super cool. I think if you're doing like mudding, or I know that you and Simon shot a video with quads recently, just ripping through kind of water and water holes, mud holes out in the forest. I don't know if you necessarily need to bevel the edges there. Yeah. But I think for rock crawling, it's definitely helped. And that carrying a battery powered angle grinder has been awesome. Yeah. Having that at our disposal. So
no, I thank you, Nick, for stepping up and telling us your opinion, because you were one of the people that was convincing Tyler, like, you're gonna fail, dude.
Yeah,
this ain't gonna work.
This isn't gonna work.
It was a possibility, which was enough for me to be concerned.
He even said he thought it was a possibility, which concerned him. Well, I think, and Tyler, I think one of the many reasons, besides the fact that we like hanging out with the Gladiator and 29s, is this rig is heavy and it could pull you out if worst case scenario.
Yeah,
and the thing is that I think, you know, you gained your trust in Glue Tread.
Yep.
We thoroughly convinced Nick that he just needs to carry that and he can get rid of that Nitto on the back of his tire and get a Yokohama. And we can just carry a few items as a repair kit for the worst case scenarios, with Glue Tread being included as one of those items.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, cool. On that bombshell, 2 hours, an hour and 54 minutes into this. What are your guys' final thoughts on this trip in particular?
Yeah.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah. I think for me, final thoughts for me were, first of all, just like very grateful for all you guys for having us out. I mean, obviously, as you've heard by our questions, Simon and I are not well versed in this space. And like, thank you for letting us like drive your rigs. And like, I mean, this is an experience that people will like wait their whole lives to do. You know, I think it's awesome. You guys do it several times a year, but like we saw Michigan plates out here this week, and it's like, this is probably Florida. Yeah. Florida plates. And this is probably the only time they'll ever get to do this. So for us, like, thank you for bringing us along and hosting the whole thing, and Tyler putting all the food together. I know it's a huge effort. So thank you guys for doing that. And then also like being willing to like, you know, risk, you know, your couple vacation days that you get a year to come out here and risk it by shoving a knife through the sidewall of a tire. You know, I mean, just
four tires.
Yeah, four tires.
Thank you, Simon.
Yeah. So overall, for me, just like very grateful for you guys for taking the time. And I, you know, in closing that, and then I also have, you know, a bit of, I feel some relief now since all that's behind us, and we've done the air quotes, one of the hardest trails in the country, and we're just really stoked to be here. So thank you guys for having us out.
Cool. Simon?
Yeah, well, the trip's not over yet. We got some trail left to go tomorrow, and some flights,
Simon
some flights to catch tomorrow. But but I'm excited for that. But yeah, same kind of thing. I just feel so fortunate to be able to join along with you guys and experience this thing that people pay a lot of money and wait a lot of time to do, and just jumping on the Rubicon has been an experience. There's still some processing left to do for me, but then there's also
350 gigs.
I was just about to go there. There's after tomorrow going to be almost 500 gigs of processing left to do, but I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of really cool footage out here. It's beautiful. Your guys' rigs are beautiful too. And
I don't know if that's the right word for it.
I'll accept it though, and I hope everybody believes it.
Functionality is beautiful.
They're cool and they work really well.
Yeah. And I think we got a lot of really great footage. So the filmmaker in me is just excited to get back into the editing room and crank through some of this stuff. And Stay tuned, I guess, in October for some of these videos coming out.
Nice.
Which will be really fun to watch, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I just say huge, massive shout out to you, Simon? We were up at the top of Indian Trail, and we're like, all right, so we need to go down these slabs, and we're going to go down, I don't know, maybe half an hour, 20 minutes, and then we'll be kind of getting into Buck Island Lake. And you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, go for it. I'll just fly the drone. And I thought originally you were going to ride passenger while you're flying the drone down the slabs. And then you're like, no, I'll just go ahead and I'll just run and catch up to you guys. I'm like, what?
A true mountain athlete.
What? Are you kidding me? And sure as hell, we get down to we're just going down I'm like, all right, we're about halfway down now. You're like, cool, yeah, I'm following you on the drone. I'm like, are you coming yet? Are you just hanging out up there? What's going on? And then we get down to the bottom. All right, we're at the bottom. You're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm like, you're running down the slabs to catch up to. I could not do that. That's huge.
They said they just ran a chunk of miles to help their friend that's running 100 miles.
Right.
It's pretty easy terrain on foot, I will say. For me, it was easier on foot than when I hopped behind Jimmy's
All you
rig.
guys driving the Jeeps and the Toyotas and the Scouts and whatever the hell else you bring out here are idiots. If you just walked this...
Oh, man. Yeah, huge shout out to you. You did that a few times.
Yeah, for
where
sure.
You're just like, yeah, just go ahead and I'll catch up to you guys. I'm like, what? No way. Like, I would never. I'm like, I'm driving this thing.
It was funny because I was getting some more scenic shots on the drone, and then you radioed me, and you're like, "All right, we're just waiting for Simon. Are you still coming or what?" And I was like, "Oh shit, how long have they been waiting?" Because I wasn't actually filming, and I was like, "No, keep going. It's all right. I'm just doing my thing. I'll be down there in a minute."
Yeah, big shout out to you, Andy. How long until you get a rock crawler now? Because there was. So, I will admit, there was a lot of times when we're going just down stuff and up stuff, and you just start giggling like a little schoolgirl.
I do that. Yeah, I do that.
And then you got to drive Kermit from pretty much from, I don't want to say from Buck Island, but from Buck Island down to the Springs.
Yeah.
And then you started playing around with the siren a lot. So I have a 2 question here. How long until you either get a rock crawler or you install a siren on your vehicle?
I'm going to put a siren on my dirt bike tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
So to answer your first question, very soon on the siren. I can't wait for that. Yeah, I mean, the rock crawl, I mean, God, I'd love it. I mean, my dream's always been like, I want an old beater Tacoma that I can just run up in the mountains and do whatever I want. But honestly, like as you guys have noticed from talking to me, like my knowledge as far as making them what they are just isn't there. Like, and we talked about this coming through. It's like,
well, ours isn't too. That's what YouTube's for. That's what
You're welcome.
The YouTube mechanic sticker. Yeah. I mean, I don't have the knowledge or ability or tools or space to make any of these rigs around here. I love like being in the driver's seat. Like that's fun. I love that. But like, I couldn't create that. I couldn't create, at least with my current skill set, what you guys have.
That's why you buy a JL. oh, bird.
4x4. Cheap and Tyler.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd love to. I mean, like I said, right now I'm doing it more on 2 wheels than I am on 4, but my dirt bike's going to have a siren. I haven't figured that out yet, but it's going to be cool.
I can't wait. You got to get some video of that. It'll be awesome. Jimmy, what are your takeaways from this trip here?
Oh, well, I have 2. Thank you to Bandit Concealment for allowing us to use his knives and stab some tires.
Yeah.
Also, more is not better. In regards to the glue tread, more glue is not better. And I've really learned that after the last week that I've been on the Rubicon here when I helped a side-by-side try to get off the trail. And we literally used too much glue, and it did not solve our problems.
Yep.
And then hanging out here with Andy and learning that the fact that more glue is not more better, and actually the dots will save you. And don't just glue it. Just don't think that all this glue, if I throw more glue on there, it's going to become better at
like adhesion. Thank you. And solving my day, and that's not it. So it's really like comes down to the prep, and more glue is not more better.
Awesome. I think my big takeaway is the prep, 100%.
Yep.
If you do the prep right, you can abuse the shit out of some tires.
We proved that. Simon's video will show it. Our videos will show it.
I'm super impressed. After Supple, I was like, okay, we're not gonna have any issues. And then I thought, like, for sure, I ripped one of those off of the tire, and it was still on there. We had a very, very minor problem. Like, it's super cool. I'm super thankful because that means I can confidently go on whatever trail I want to go on and not have to worry about bringing a spare tire with me. That's massive for me because I don't want to deal with a spare. I don't want to carry a spare. It's an extra 150 pounds of weight that I don't want to have in my rig. Yeah. I'd rather use that 150 pounds for 2 30 packs of Coors Light. So or you get a Gladiator and just carry the 2 30 packs and a spare and your buddy's spare. So you oh man,
it's impressive for being on 29s too.
I know, right?
Did the whole trail.
Oh man, so thank you for coming up with a phenomenal product. Thank you, Simon, for coming out and doing a lot of work in running literally circles around the rigs while we're driving, running Indian Trail, running Big Sluice, running everything you did. I think this is going to be a really, really cool video. It's been a really lot of fun and time. I don't even know if that's a correct sentence, but yeah, I'm excited to see how the rest of tomorrow goes and everything that comes from this trip. So yeah,
you're not supposed to have final words.
I wanted some on this trip. This is a great trip.
It's supposed to go around the table and you say thank you.
Thank you. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Did you know you can't run through campsites?
Why?
You can ran. It's because it's past tense.
I got it. Okay. I was like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
I get it, but I'm not happy about it.